Hi, this is Word of the Horde, that famous podcast. I'm Dan. Joining me as always is Chris. These are time capsule discussions from the year 2020, where we discuss all the events that went on and then we go off talking about random stuff. So this is basically just conversation between two friends that I'm editing and putting up as a podcast. That is what you are getting. That's what you're listening to. So thank you for listening, I guess.
Do that. So,
Just like Joe Rogan, mate. That's how we do. Right in the middle of a fucking sentence.
okay, yeah, cool. Hi, hello, everybody. Welcome to that famous podcast.
What did we do at the beginning? Who cares?
I don't care. Might as well.
Nobody cares.
I care.
Nobody cares about anything in the world except being offended. Racism.
Yeah, people got like we. I remember talking 6 weeks ago how everything seemed to have calmed down and people have gone nice and stuff, and now people are trying to cancel people. I mean,
again.
I mean, talking about podcasts and talking about Joe Rogan, the fact that recently they've been trying to cancel Joe Rogan and Joey Diaz is insane. It's like it's so many people just upset about stuff. I'm like, have you ever watched any of Joe Rogan's podcasts?
You
must realize after 2,000 podcasts, he must be doing something right. You know, I mean, it's like
first off, do they know who Joey Diaz is? Because you're like,
right?
This guy kidnapped someone once.
Yeah. He's done lots and lots of drugs. He's kidnapped people. He's held people at gunpoint. He's and like if you hear his life story, you're like, yeah, I can understand how he's not like your average person, average Joe, so to speak. But yeah, when I saw that the other day, I was like, yeah, good luck. I'm gonna stay well back from this one. Good luck with that. Yeah, see you soon.
I can't imagine a worse opponent for like the Me Too cancel culture to go
100%,
100%. Like going after Jason Bourne or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like what are they gonna do? They're gonna say mean words to him. It's like you're not gonna go trash his house, put it that way, because you're gonna get shot or beat up or both. You're gonna end up in someone's basement as the gimp. So yeah, good luck with that. But yeah, I did see that, and I was just like, with Joey Diaz especially, I was just like, yeah, good luck. But yeah, Joe Rogan. So it's and the thing is, like I say, it's like there's such a body of work that especially Joe Rogan's done. It's like if you actually watch it, then you realize that he's not biased or discriminatory against anybody. It's like it's so much stuff and on there from both sides, from all sides, and so many stories and so many like different aspects of it. It's just like anybody that.
Sorry, but they just don't like him because he's got two sides. He's got that side and he's got the comedian, and the comedian side is ruthless, and he's been ruthless in the past because he hangs out with comedians.
Yeah, exactly. Like you do with your mates. You know, like the things you say, and you do it to get a laugh, and it's just it's one of them things. It is, but yeah, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, good luck with that. And I've seen so many people like, I'm just going to start following him. I didn't follow him before, but now that like, yeah, good luck. But yeah, it did make me chuckle. That I was just like, that's not gonna fly, guys. And also, it's like they're now attacking the centrists. They're not attacking the right wing. They're attacking the people in the center. They're attacking people with a slightly different view from them, rather than a significantly opposing view.
I think it's intelligent to go after someone like Rogan. You know, when he's about as centrist as or left, he's probably more
I would
left
say leftist, but I would say like he defines himself as centrist, and I think that's quite a good thing. He's got right wing views, he's got left wing views, and he's got friends on both sides. It's not like he's a political argument.
White male.
Yeah, he's a white dude, a big muscly fucking.
That's it. He epitomizes, and he's successful, and so he epitomizes it. And because they've got footage of him laughing at jokes like Diaz, they want to go after him, and it's just a strange situation.
Yeah,
the world is going insane right now.
Oh, the world is totally going insane right now.
People are insane. Like this social media thing, I was thinking about it the other day. Like, and I think they need to shut social media down for like a week or something. Just say Facebook, Twitter, the lot. It's all just getting shut. Yeah. It's all going blackout for a week. No one can access it. It's just all down. Like, and then it'll come back
but
up.
Then that would be an argument for like they're trying to subdue us. They're trying to stop the.
I think it's. I don't. At the end of the day, they're doing that anyway, all the time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's like, at this point, I think it's a world sanity issue. I think everyone needs to just have a 1980s minute
Yeah,
for a week
just
or
go
something.
the fuck stand outside. Yeah. Now you think, I mean, like this quarantine would have been a good perfect time to shut that down so that people that, but like I've said to you this last week when you've been texting me stuff in the morning, I'm just like, dude, stop looking at it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that's what it's made for. Like I've been
Yes.
on it a couple of times and it'll be like, this is just for you, and I'm watching, I'll be fuming. I'm like, why would you suggest that? I was having a lovely day to suggest that. That doesn't know me at all. But yeah, it's one of those sort of stupid things where you just watch stuff and you're just like, this is just made to wind people up. It's like it's created for that. That is created to create like people. It's an addictive thing, but it's like a negative addictive thing.
Yeah,
So
it
it makes you
truly
want to
is.
go on there, but it makes you want to angry when you go on there, and it's like that kind of fuels you to then go on it more and be like, yeah, I need to say this to this person, and I need to push this idea across. It's the whole
This is what's
world's
so
just bonkers.
fascinating about it. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like I'll go on it just to look at the news, and like I was saying to you, it's no accident that that's the best place to find news and to be the most informed,
Oh yeah, sorry.
because they force you on there. And then I'll look at something and you'll start seeing comments and it'll just develop, and you're not really kind of that bothered. You're just kind of like, huh, what's this about? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then what you're talking about kind of is a lot of the thing. That's how it starts a lot of the time.
Starts to go down a rabbit hole. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And then you, like I said, you've invested a bit of time into it, and then all of a sudden you're in the middle of this argument, looking at it, reading the argument. For
Yeah.
most people, it triggers them literally to get
I
involved.
think it's one of them things where it's like a puzzle. It's like it convinces your mind that it's a puzzle and you have to figure out the answer to it, but there's no answer because there's two sides that don't really pay attention to the other
And there's a
side.
million people
And a
screaming at the
million
same
people
time.
screaming. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's this unanswerable thing. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like, and like I say, people, we've said before, people are right to be pissed off and stuff of the world at the moment. But yeah, just this idea that it's like my opinion counts. Like, not always. like, like I have nothing to say on most matters at the moment. Like, if someone come up to me, what do you think of this? I'm like, I don't know. Don't know. Doesn't affect me. But that's not an answer anymore. That's negative now. You can't just go, look, I have nothing to do with me.
Because yeah, I've got too many I've got too many things going on. There's too many issues flying around right now for me to really make an educated decision on anything. It's chaos right now. It really is chaos.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I think that's what they want. They want us just not really knowing where to think, where to send our energy at. Focus on
No, I
yourself.
do get that. Yeah.
Be racist. It's fine.
Yeah, just hang around with people that hate the same as you. that's
Yeah.
that's the way forward. Just stop hanging around with people that you don't like. That's one thing I've always thought with people that's like, I don't like this view. Don't talk to people with that view. I'd never go to someone and go, so what's your political view? Like, what do you think of the Conservatives? I never do that because I know, like, I never say religion.
Exactly. This is the problem with Twitter. Too many people, like, kind of, yeah, it's like, why would you just enter a room and start talking your opinion with millions and millions of people who
Yeah.
get to shout back at you? It's like kind of chaos. You wouldn't do that in the real world. You only talk
No.
your opinion to people you know who already agree with you, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. With your peers, or even like approaching someone who's like famous and like a comedian and be like, "What's your take on this?" Is like, really? Do you want their take, or do you just want to disagree with their take, whatever it is, and just be like,
Yeah.
"Can you believe they didn't even think about this question? I've been thinking about it for 6 weeks. That's why I asked them." It's like, yeah, well, that's that's why you're more informed or less informed or whatever, or like that's why you've got a specific viewpoint. But yeah, I think it's weird that like in the world we live in, you can't not have a view. This is something I've been thinking about recently. It's kind of like the whole concept of especially with the Black Lives Matter. It's like like silence is murder and silence is violence. That's the one. But it's like, can you not just be like Switzerland? just I agree with the things. I don't agree with all the techniques, but I don't want anything to do with this. I'm gonna stay out of it and see what happens. I think that's perfectly reasonable thing for a human being. You can't have everything in your head at once. So there's other things I care about that aren't.
That's it. And
how the world burns.
it's like, well, yeah, why would I fight your cause when I'm barely fighting my own?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, totally.
I think the best way is to sort of like like I said, still don't comment or do anything like on Twitter or engage.
Of course,
Twitter, it looks like I don't do anything. Like I just look at news.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good way. It's almost like I'm remaining neutral by just not commenting, so no one notices that I'm there, kind of.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best way, really. I don't know any other way, because anything else, you say anything, and someone's gonna have an issue. So why bother? It's ego.
Yeah, it's weird because like you have to kind of create your own coping mechanisms for the current climate. It's like for me, it's like I like to be informed, so I'll watch some Twitter, I'll watch some YouTube, I'll watch some videos, and then I'll watch something about Star Wars, like like the reimagining of stuff, or watch something like that, or watch something about space where I'm just like it has nothing to do with the current situation. It's just like that because you need that balance. It's just like, and especially like because I've watched most things on TV. I've not watched a lot of TV recently, other than rewatching stuff. I've not been playing on a whole lot of games and stuff. I've just been like, I've been kind of winding down because I know I'm going back to humanity and stuff. So, but I've just been like, I'll watch something in the morning as I'm potting around. I'll listen to some podcasts or whatever, and then I'll just put something nice on, just something that's interesting that watching stuff about, like say a lot of stuff about space, or even just like say Star Wars, the what's going to happen in the Star Wars universe, the Marvel universe, and it's like it's stuff that doesn't affect the future, but at the same time, it's like it just gives me that break from the insanity that the world is currently delivered, because it is insanity. It's absolutely fucking like you're never going to win. There's literally no way to win the battles at the moment, because whatever your views are, someone's going to disagree and someone's going to fucking try and cancel you. This idea of this cancel culture. I was thinking about this the other day, right? Do you think this cancel culture is a result of the fact that the laws are so strict that you can't murder people now? And normally in revolutions, people will murder people. People will murder the ruling elite to take
kind
over.
of murdering people right now.
No. But what I mean is like with like if someone's revolting, if the poor and the disenfranchised and the trodden,
they just hang the aristocrats in the street.
Revolting. They'll normally just hang the aristocrats, but they can't do that at the moment. So what they're doing instead is they're cancelling people. Which I mean, if you cancel a film, you kill that film, or cancel a series, you kill that series. It's just a nice way to say we're killing those people off. They don't exist in our world anymore because they're not relevant. But it's like that whole concept is just like this like stupid. It's like just kill them if you're going to do it. Like if that's what you want to do.
I know what you're saying. I don't think though the idea of cancelling and this whole thing would have evolved if cleverer people didn't push it along this movement along these lines. I think a lot of clever people have had their hands in this movement for a long time, and they're making this part of society on purpose to drive people crazy like this. I'm not sure if it would have evolved.
I hadn't even heard of cancelling until about a year ago. I'm sure it's been going along that. I'm not exactly ahead of the curve, but I haven't heard of it. And then all of a sudden, like all these people are cancelled, and whatever. And most of the time, it's like people you're just like, well, we probably should have been. It's like that's fair enough.
I think it was happening quite a bit before, like sort of the Me Too movement, but I think really Me Too sort of boomed it into real existence when where a whole bunch of people got cancelled in the space of like
people just get deleted.
Yeah.
But it's like, where does that line finishes? It's a bad analogy, but it's like they came for the Jews and then I wasn't a Jew. It's one of them things.
Exactly.
It's like at what point, like say it's the Black Lives Matter movement. It's like the current topic is that, but then it moves on to it's going to obviously continue with LGBT and the election and stuff like that. And if you're left wing or right wing, it's like there's so many people that are going to fit in the bracket of they deserve to be cancelled if you follow the guidelines they are. And some people are like Joe Rogan, are definitely equal arguments on one side. I've been convinced of good and left and right ideas from watching shows like that, from talking to people and talking like about hunting and how hunting can be like, because I've never been someone who's like, yeah, we should all hunt. But then when you talk to people that are hunters, or even like cattle breeders, when they're saying actually there's a sustainable, healthy way to do this, and it can be more healthy than veganism, for example, then you listen to that and you go, actually, it's not just a black and white argument. It's not just like meat or no meat, vegan or no vegan, or whatever. There's an argument that go on.
Well, I was just going to say, just quickly, just maybe you think then.
Sorry?
What happens if cancel culture decides that, tries to go after Rogan, and then there's enough pressures put on, say, YouTube, Spotify, whatever. He's moved to Spotify, so let's say Spotify. And they go, well, our advertisers believe blah, 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 blah. We can't do your show anymore. So he goes, right, well, I'll go back to YouTube. Oh, we can't. You're contractually obliged to this now. And so he's all of a sudden, the platforms that he uses aren't allowing him.
I would assume that within the contract, there's like, obviously they'll pay him anyway, but I would assume that if they choose not to have his show, he'll just release his show on something else, because he's like, well, if they're breaking the contract, then he keeps the money.
But this is my point. what happens though with these structures that we release on, like Twitter and all these different things?
Yeah.
Like, what if they are now influenced eventually, which they will be, by this cancel culture movement, and they don't allow those things on because they're already shutting people down on YouTube?
It just does what Louis C.K. did. It just does what Louis C.K. did. Just went, fuck you, then I'll just do it myself. I'll find
I
a way.
suppose,
And Joe Rogan,
yeah,
especially, someone as
good
big
enough.
as that, I
Yeah,
wouldn't be
true.
surprised, right, if in the next couple of years Joe Rogan creates a system, creates
His
a
own
podcasting.
YouTube, yeah,
Why
his
not?
own network.
Why not have like like a network with him and Tom Segura and whoever, all the comedians and stuff, and all his friends and stuff, because and not just that, but like scientists and whoever want a podcast, and just say you can do it on here.
Elon Musk to set it up.
I reckon he could probably do it in about half an hour. He could do it on his lunch break.
Server in the satellite.
Yeah, but I would, truly have their own, have a satellite task just for the just podcasts. But that's what I mean. It's like I feel like there's definitely people in that space, and people that are probably rightfully cancelled that still have the ability and the funds to just do it if they want to. Joe Rogan started it from nothing and started it off of from nowhere there wasn't a platform for it when he started anyway. He's been doing it like 20 years or whatever. So it's like there's no reason he couldn't just be like, okay, we'll just do it on a platform. I'll just make a website that puts my things on it. We're doing all the work for it anyway. Why not? But I don't think Spotify will. I think that Spotify seems to be Switzerland at the moment. That like I've never heard anything about like, oh, they put this music on or this music off or whatever. I think they're just like we just put content out and then
Yeah, but for how long? This is it though.
But how long and how much pressure will the world continue to create? Like by the end of this year, the world is going to be a very different
place,
picture
yes,
than it is currently. So it's like literally we have no idea.
This is it, because this cancel culture, I think it's insidious in a weird way because, well, it's already turning around and eating itself. So whether or not it'll do that before it gets the rest of the world, and they turn on each other.
Yeah,
I think they might potentially do that, but there's enough morons in it. But like I said, it's the erasing of history and those sorts of things that I find.
Yeah, it is a little bit of that.
And it's eventually going to be censorship. That's what
Yeah.
it will eventually evolve in.
There's also an argument if you continue to push like extreme ideas to the fringe, then that's where they'll stay and grow. Like with anything,
push
it's like,
people to the fringe, though. That's the issue.
This is the reason I think like flat Earth society and stuff is such a massive reason we know about it at all is because it was just extreme people pushed to the fringe and just be like, well, if we're not accepting their group, we'll start our own group. And it's like there's an argument that you have to push extremism to the fringe anyway. I've actually read the first chapter.
Not simple.
No, not simple. Yeah, not just discussion. But I started reading a book called, it's fantastic. It's called Life 3.0, and it's like a study book. It's like a scientific book about how the world may be changed by AI, right? But the first chapter of it is a fictional story of how it could happen. It's really interesting because it talks about this AI that creates. Basically, they create an AI and they don't want to release it on the internet because then it could obviously have the ability to develop itself and so on. And so what they do is they look at different areas of society, how they can change it. So they start with making like a Netflix style website. It's a brilliant book, a Netflix style website. Where this AI creates content for this website, mainly animated to begin with, because obviously they couldn't say this actor was in that when they weren't in it, and starts releasing it. And then what they do is they say it's the content is created by independent filmmakers, just random people around the world, and they start building little subsidiary companies around the world that supposedly create this content. And then it creates like a news channel, which is a centrist news channel. Like this AI creates it and creates all the news programs and stuff like that. And basically what it does over like 10 years, obviously each day it managed to develop itself further. It's like, although it's cut off from the internet, it has like a Wikipedia where it can read all the information, but it's not connected to the internet and so on. And it's updated with all the information each day, but it's not connected to the internet. So basically it continues to create this thing, and what it does is it starts to like push ideas that are more centrist and more less extreme and less kind of it starts to change the way social media and news media especially is addressed. and does like a more kind of realistic, truthful, less opinionated view of everything. So it doesn't have a side. It's really like this. Like I say, it's the first chapter. It's like 20 pages, but it's like a really interesting thing about how this thing develops, and then basically creates a non-nuclear society. Like gets rid of nukes because it starts to like push into the society this idea that nukes are bad after it starts to centralize everything, and there's much less writing, and food resources are better, and it basically just slowly takes over companies and takes over the world. And because it has the AI system to be able to make things really addictive to watch, it also, like, people want to watch the news because it's really interesting in the way it's done and the way it like addresses like human emotions and stuff. It's a really like I read it, I'm like, that's what we need. We need a smart enough AI and people smart enough to be able to use it, use applications.
Could
But yeah,
could
it's a really interesting thing. Go on.
could one of those be in operation right now, but in a negative context?
But as a weapon, yeah, could be yeah, of course it could. Of course it could. I mean, I assume AI's like, I mean, just for like stock markets and statistics, there's like intelligences that work on specific aspects of things anyway, in order to make money or whatever. They look at like, oh, if you sell it and buy at this point, it's like algorithms. But yeah, of course. And how close are people to it? How, is there an individual that can use it to his own means and stuff like this? The way this story, this first part of the story kind of addresses it, it's like they're very kind of altruistic, and the people that created it are like, right, we need to make this useful. Like, we're going to make a shitload of money anyway. Like, within the first week, they're making 10 million a day or something like that. So they're just like, right, we've got money sorted, let's make the world better, sort of thing. But it's a real, like, say, I ordered it from Amazon. It's a brilliant little book. A mate of mine suggested it to me, and I've started reading it. But after that, it goes into like some more of the kind of deeper questions about AI and how AI, like, whether we'll make it and so on and so on. But the first chapter itself is worth reading the book for, because I was just like, got to the end of it, I'm like, that's interesting. Like, that feels like a way the world could be improved significantly by something taking the control, like, away from the opinionated and put it into like the analytical and start looking at things sensibly. And because I feel like this year has been a year just like extreme emotion and fear and panic and fucking, like, whether it was the fucking toilet paper shortage or people screaming at each other in because someone's not wearing a mask or someone is wearing a mask, or like the Black Lives Matter movement, obviously, and things like that deserve extreme emotion. But it feels like the year has just been extreme emotion from start to finish, like whatever it was. So
Don't think
yeah,
the
I
world
just
could
think
take much more of this insanity. It's a high stress situation that I think is making the world more insane with every day that passes.
the thing I find quite interesting is a high stress situation, but it's not like normally the world's at high stress when there's like we're like at war or there's a massive food shortage or whatever. It's like the situation at the moment, it's like it's all kind of like imaginary things. It's a potential
Mm,
catastrophic virus, and like how
yeah,
people have been treated over the last 100 years. It's not like there's a thing that can, like, a war can be fought and then finished and then people can move on, whereas
yeah.
what we're going through now, it's like none of it ever seems like, even with the
Like
lockdown closing.
racism isn't
No,
an army, is it?
yeah, it can't be defeated. Like, you can't say racism has been wiped out, because there'll be people that still harbor those racist
Destroyed the
like,
racist
unfortunately.
stronghold in the mountains.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't like break the axis of racism. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
and don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean it shouldn't be fought, but at the same time, it's like we're never gonna overcome something that is an idea, unfortunately. Until we go out in space or meet aliens or so on and so on. So, as always, it comes down to other life on other planets trying to help us out.
The strange thing about it though is, it's like, what is racism? Because you kind of like, I don't know anyone who's actively being racist to people and doing things like that. And so you kind of like, is it is it some idea that they're perpetuating to keep people of color feeling like it's a creature, a demon out there that exists in white people's souls, that, and then something to make white people think, oh, I've got to, just to keep the world on edge
Yeah,
and
yeah.
divided.
I think it's half and half. I agree. I don't know any racist people, but then I wouldn't want to know anyway. Like there wouldn't be racists for my friends. I wouldn't hang around with racist people and so on. So it's like, I'm glad I don't know any racist people.
How I met these people.
And also at the same time, it's like, I'm sure we do meet people that would be considered racist, that perhaps even we would think are racist, but it's like, they're not going to come up to me and be like, you'll never guess what I saw, a fucking blah, blah, blah. Like, because I'm like, don't fucking tell me that shit. I don't want to know it. Like, so, and people keep it secret, but at the same time, it's like, stupid people have existed forever. It's like, I think the thing I find, especially sort of recently, it's like we're pandering to the worst of society. Whether it's like, we're giving them a voice, we're giving racists and bigots and stuff a voice. It's like, let's look at people that aren't.
Also, we've given, like you said, the stupid people a voice to talk on the internet, and we're allowing them to govern what we're doing.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah. Or at least they're being led. So there's enough stupid people being led by someone probably intelligent enough to lead them. And so they've got a loud voice. But don't get me wrong, it's a difficult situation because I agree with their argument, but I think the approach is the way the world is approaching things at the moment just seems ridiculous. It just seems absolutely insane.
I think a lot of the time I've found recently, I've had like a situation where whenever I kind of watch something that I would consider is rightist, where the kind of Trump supporting sort of shit, say, for example, like, I don't obviously watch anything that's far right, you know what I mean, or anything like
no,
that.
No, yeah, of course not, yeah.
But every now and again,
get my gun, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, watch that shit.
But definitely, there's like a few things, but just because I'm trying to watch both sides of the argument in a weird way, but I'll watch that side, and at the same time, I start, I become aware when I think, they've said something that's a little bit sort of too rightist there, like, it could be interpreted as whatever, dodgy, but then maybe not, I don't know. But then I always like to kind of keep him in the background of my mind, like, well, whatever your opinion is, on racism, whatever, and however right you might get, it's like, surely, well, love and acceptance and all this sort of stuff and peace, that's the only answer. So stop fucking hate mongering or whatever. Then at the same time, when I watch the other side of an argument and people are like, oh my God, and fucking racist and blah, 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 and whatever issues they're moaning about, I always think, shut the fuck up. Because, you're a sheep.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, burn those stupid idiots. I agree.
You're sheep and the rest of them are wolves, and you want the wolves to kneel to the sheep. It's like, it doesn't work like that.
I do think there is a bit of that. There's definitely a bit of it doesn't surprise me that people that are successful are generally not nice people. That's never been a surprise to me. You know what I mean? Like, through the jobs I've done in my life and just through growing up as a human being, you realize that people who are the manager are usually dicks. They're usually like cutthroat, will step on you to get above. That's why they're managers. It's not necessarily always about success and stuff like that, but they're willing to play the game that gets them there. Now, I'm not saying that the game is fair, but at the same time, they know the rules and you know the rules. You're bitching about the rules. They're not. They're winning. You know what I mean? Like, they're just going, okay, I'm going to smash these rules. So yeah, there is an aspect to that. It's like, if you enter into society with specific rules and then go, I don't like these rules, I want to change them. I'm like, well, it's very difficult to do. Make your own, or, like I say, I don't disagree with the argument.
But the reason those rules exist is because, it's that's nature. It's rules of nature. It's like I said, the wolves, don't bow to the sheep. It's like, it doesn't matter how many sheep turn up, and maybe the sheep turn up with ram horns and they beat one wolf to death. When a pack of wolves arrives, the sheep scatter.
It's like,
it's nature though, but it's like kind of the same in the universe. Like a giant star it will fall into a fucking be consumed by a bigger star. Can't change the law of nature.
Well, it's like this idea of defund the police, which I find fascinating. I find it really, like, I find it kind of humorous sometimes, but I find it fascinating because it's like you say, it's like people that generally want peace and love are saying, get rid of these tyrants that are the police, and some of them of course are, but at the same time it's like they also hold back the flood of true horrible people. There's a lot of murderers and psychopaths that would happily, they're like, yeah, defund the police, like, I don't give a shit about your political views, I'm going to get some raping done.
A lot of these people calling for this stuff have never really encountered truly evil people.
Yeah, exactly.
They fucking live in a fantasy world.
Exactly. It's like, don't get me wrong, like I've had I've never really had a problem with police or anything like that, but I've definitely, like, where I've wanted to smoke a joint in a fucking like a museum garden or something like that, where I'm just like, oh, I wish the cops didn't exist. But at the same time, I've also had times when I've been outside a bar and some knobhead starting on someone, you're like, I'm glad the police exist, you know. And so it's like they do have a role, and fair enough, they need better training. And what I've seen a lot recently is about like the application of them. I think that would be a useful conversation if we ever start having conversations again. But it's like, maybe they don't need to be looking at fucking pulling people over for DUIs and fucking smoking a joint or someone sleeping on a bench or sleeping in their car outside the thing. Maybe they need to be start dealing with like criminals, and there's another another group that will deal with low end, non-violent, federal crime or something. I think police need to either be funded better or there be a separation between their jobs and the simple stuff, which isn't really crime, but the cops have to deal with it, because that's when they seem to overreact, when it's stupid little petty stuff. You never see them going, oh, they shot 3 bank robbers. Like, no one ever gives a shit about that. But they seem to always, it seems to be the little things.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just kind of, I think the argument is coloured though by the fact that everything that's going on in America, and it really governs the discussion, when it doesn't apply a lot of the time in this country, I don't think, in England.
Yeah.
On this subject, however, you talk about defunding the police. You heard what happened in Chicago over the weekend?
Nope.
A record number of shootings.
What, from police?
No. 104 shootings in black areas. So basically
black on black crime.
Black on black crime. And
yeah.
Literally, like, well, this is a place that is defunding the police. It's a Democrat area, Chicago, like, and it's just absolute fucking chaos. And it's this is what I'm saying. It's like these people who want to defund the police really don't know what they're asking for.
I wouldn't be surprised if people start asking for the Purge, mate, to be honest with you. I watched that the other day, the first Purge, and I was like, wow, this is just 2020, isn't it? I was like, I could definitely, oh, dude, it's just 2020. It's just like, it's all right. I mean, it's about as good as any other
I was going to watch it the other day, and I thought I might need to have a bit of a minute here. I can't watch this straight away.
It's not too bad, actually. It's not too bad. It's kind of a bit tamer than the actual Purge, but it does feel like, oh, that might be a solution. Well, let's just do that, see what happens. Because I think
they are doing that in certain parts of America right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. I do think there's definitely an aspect of like there'll be, I say they, but people will think, oh, right, we'll defund the police. They'll fucking shoot each other for a while. It'll deal with the problem for us. You know what I mean? But I just think smarter heads need to prevail. We need people on both sides of this fucking argument to just chill the fuck out a second and say, right, let's have a conversation, rather than like, because you can't, like, no one, there's no specific people saying, right, what we're going to do, like, about this, what's our next steps and stuff. There's just thousands of people shouting at thousands of other people who are all super angry and nervous and worried and afraid and fucking in these like it's like war zone, but everyone's just like agreeing not to hurt each other. It's like, nah, that's not going to work. It's like we need some sort of open discussion. But I mean, somewhere like Twitter's not the thing. We need like a new social media where people can have a conversation. Although I don't think they'll ever exist.
They'll never exist. It'll just become a new Twitter.
Yeah.
This is the problem. It's like, this is, I think you genuinely need to black out social media for a week or something, and then come back in a week.
People would go in uproar.
Doesn't matter.
Uproar.
Just say, no, announce it. Just say, you're all too fucking insane right now. Everyone's screaming and shouting, so we're cutting off your ability to do that. You're back to phoning and texting each other, so we're not stopping that. You can carry on talking to each other, but we're just shutting these platforms down for 1 week. Everyone gets a fucking timeout, and then you come back.
Yeah, everyone's on the naughty steps for a bit.
Had time to think about what we've been doing, because it's insane.
Yeah.
And plus, since when are we taking the opinions? I'm getting wound up. Since when are we taking the opinions, though, of dumb, like 18, 19-year-old people?
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like, what on earth? The world, plus, not alone that, it's like people who are just out of college and not really got a developed brain yet. It's also people who are angry. And when have you just gone up to someone who's angry and got a really rational answer to anything?
Yeah, discussion. Well, I remember about 6 months before the quarantine. It might have been you I was talking to, but I was saying about dating. I'm like, I can't date 20-year-olds anymore. It's like they seem nice, but they just don't have the substance. Like I just don't feel like they're thinking about stuff on the deeper levels. You know what I mean? Like I feel like your 30s are where you start to kind of really contemplate your existence and stuff like that. And people haven't gone through that. Like it's not a midlife crisis, but through that like choosing to be the person. Like you start your childhood, you grow up like emanating someone, and then as you get to between 16 and say 25, 26, you become like you start to become the person you are. But then like that next 5 years is actually you realizing, oh, how much of the person I want to be is this person, you know, have I made the wrong, and actually becoming a human is like once you turn 30, 35, you start to actually become like full. Like you've taken all the parts you want and you've assembled them properly, and you've got rid of the stuff that doesn't really work for you, and you've stopped faking it. Most people have stopped faking being like, I'm cool or I'm funny or this is my characteristic, and they've questioned it, hopefully. But when I was 25, I had so much, like I'm sure I would have been just as protesty and fucking angry at the world when I was 25 as any of these guys. I honestly do.
We'd grown up with social media too. God help us.
Fucking right. Yeah, if I'd had Twitter when I was 16, I mean, I wouldn't have had any friends probably, but I didn't have that many. But at the same time, it's like I just think, yeah, it's a bit like, I mean, and then and not only just the fact they've got social media, it's like they've been bullied on social media. They've made friends on social media. They've had all the aspects of social media that you and I probably wouldn't experience. We use it for news and for, you know, like, well, like I've said before with the internet, I use the internet for the best I can. I try not to sit and watch cat videos and piss about on it. I like to learn stuff. Like this last 3 months has been a learning experience for me because I've got the internet. Whereas if I was born with the internet, I take it for granted. And so it's like, oh, I can sit and watch 8 hours of people fighting in the streets or fucking, you know, rioting or whatever, you know, whatever it is. And don't get me wrong, I do that occasionally sometimes as well. But it's just like, you know, it's one of them things I realized because I didn't have it that I can not have it again, or I can live without it. Whereas some people that have had it since they were born, they've had a phone since they were 8 years old or something, and they've got 10,000 followers they have to talk to every day on Twitter and fucking whatever. They've got a YouTube channel. It's like I can understand how their life is engrossed by this fake world.
And let's be honest, these last few weeks has been like a child or a teenager discovering Pornhub or something. with regards to violence on the internet and shit.
Oh, mate, if you want some violence, you can look at real life current violence straight away. Just put violence 2020, you can have a fucking 10-hour video.
I have seen so much shit. I can't even comment on so many things to you. Like, there's so many videos I've seen that are just not even just violence, just total insanity of people just melting down and not even just chaos.
Yeah. And the thing that I was watching, it might have been a Riot video, but I was watching something. I got the realization that it was like one of the most violent things I'd ever seen. And I was like, I've seen stuff that's violent, but there's like, you know, that point where I'm just like, this is a new line. Like there's stuff going on in here where it was, I think it wasn't even violence. It was just like, it was disgusting me. It was one of them things. It was a black cop who seemed to be talking to people and then got his head kicked in by a load of skaters with skateboards and just fucking like. And he was just seemed. And I watched it. I'm just like, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot of people getting their head kicked in and run over cars and shit over this last couple of weeks. But it was just one of the moments where I'm like, this is one of the worst things I've seen on TV because this is like, it's just a gang of people beating the crap out of somebody that's there trying to calm the situation down. It was just like, I was just disgusted by it.
This is it. Like here, I mean, I watched one just this morning, and it wasn't even violence, right? It was a line of cops standing there, and they'd obviously been controlling some bloody protesters, and there was some guy, a white guy, who looked like trash, trailer trash, basically.
Yeah, hillbilly white guy.
Yeah, hillbilly white guy, like with a hairdo that was like shaved, but half shaved and partly.
Oh, like a mullet, just
chunks.
Oh, like just chunks.
Just half his hair was just different shape, different like length than other parts of his hair. It was just weird. And he was tattooed up and all that. And he was just shouting and screaming at the cops, like basically. And you could tell he had that hoarse voice of like kind of he's been shouting.
He's been screaming all day.
People like, But and mate, he went right up to this black copper's face and he just went, "You fucking blah blah blah," like right into his face. Literally, mate. And I was just, and the copper just didn't do anything. He just, and then it carried on for further. And then this guy started like arguing and doing whatever. And someone else stepped in eventually. I'm not being funny. I actually felt, I don't know how that cop did that. He just stood there and took it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't.
put my stick right through his face.
Oh yeah, that's the thing I find quite funny. It's like these people are trying to instigate violence. I mean, and from both sides, the cops are trying to do it and the protesters doing it. But I'm just like, they're saying these cops are so violent, blah blah. If there was a law that a cop could go, right, take his badge off and go, it's just me and you.
Yeah,
just me and you,
bang.
and just kick the shit out of that guy. Because that's what I think. It's like some of the stuff I've seen that's the worst stuff. It's people that are like, I'm not an imposing figure. I know how to fight, but I'm not an imposing figure. But there are people my size where I'm like, the fuck's that gonna do? I could take that guy. But there's him and his 4 mates kicking the fuck out of some other guy. I'm just like, all right, that's real brave, real fucking tough guy shit. It's not even people that are like, and same from the cops. A lot of the cops are like fucking 7 foot tall giants kicking up some fucking kid, but it's the same thing. It's like either skinny fucking weak dudes ganging up to beat one person up, or a fucking mountain of a guy beating up what essentially looks like a child in his hands. You know what I mean? It's just like you don't see any people like fair fighting this shit. And I just think, fuck it, just tell all the cops to put the batons down. All the protests have to put the batons down. Like if you had a snap and you could just be like, no weapons, and then no one had any weapons, you'd be like, okay, just do what you want to do. Go kick their fucking heads in. Because I think a lot of the knobheads would be dealt with then.
If you could just snap and everyone was just naked.
Yeah, or just, maybe like loincloths or some sort of battle armor, but everyone was equal, yeah.
It's just like, what the fuck? Yeah, but honestly, right, though, just like, I wanted to hurt that guy on behalf of this black cop.
Yeah.
I really don't even care that much about these sort of issues, that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like,
totally.
just watching that enraged me to the point that I was like, you are the fucking problem, you scumbag. And if you're trying to convince me that you're protesting for something better, it's like, you deserve to have that copper just step on you, basically.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, that's the thing. It's like, don't you get worked up? You're talking to me. Just talking to me. It's just a zen conversation. Don't you get yourself like, I'm gonna fucking kill. But no, I agree. I do think there's things that like people are in this situation at the moment, both sides of the argument are going through that they shouldn't have to go through. The world shouldn't allow that to go through. But at the same time, there's people on both sides of the argument that are causing that shit. And it's like neither of them are right. I think it's weird how like the last month or so, even with the quarantine stuff, it seems to be pushing people. Even myself, I feel myself swaying towards extremes, like to left or right. And I've always been centrist. I honestly couldn't give a shit about anybody. Like my honest opinion in life, and it sounds super like selfish, but I just like me and mine. My friends, my family, that's who I look after. Anyone else after that, if they're cool, I'll be nice to them. I'll try and help them and anything like that. But me and mine. And if everyone just dealt with that, it'd be fine. Yeah, just you and yours, man. You and yours. But people are like, no, I need to deal with this thing in fucking blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, yeah, but while people are writing, and like, not to mention, the coronavirus is destroying Brazil and Mexico. They're getting annihilated. Annihilated.
We heard Mexico just had a massive fucking earthquake as well. So, yeah.
Oh, good. Because they needed that, yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. An earthquake that hit southern and central Mexico. So it was a 7.4.
Oh, right. So fucking big one.
We don't know if there's anyone dead yet. They haven't mentioned it, but I don't think
they're on.
They haven't finished counting the coronavirus deaths.
Yeah. I looked at the coronavirus figures for the first time today in a couple of weeks, although it's still pretty high. But like I looked at Brazil and they hadn't updated their figures for a while. It's just like it didn't say who's ill.
The guy who updates the figures has died.
He probably died. Yeah. Or he's just like, I don't know what that number is. It's too big. Yeah. It's like the whole world's, and that's the thing. It's like there's people going out there going, we need equality and blah blah blah. I'm like, there's people still dying while you're arguing for this equality. Like, why aren't we helping? Like, and I do think like it's like we need to start looking at. We're not gonna. I say we, I mean the world, but it's like
you and me.
They need to start looking at who they can. Me and you, baby.
We have to do this.
We have to do this. We have to find aid for Mexico and Brazil because we need to figure out how America's going to send them some shit. But yeah, the world is just still on fire, literally on fire in some places, and it's just people are arguing over stuff. And like I say, I honestly think the argument for racism and sexism and whatever it is such a redundant one for me that I find it hard to get like frustrated about, because it's like
I thought it was over.
People that say there shouldn't be racism, shouldn't be sexism, shouldn't be like people homophobic or anything like that. I agree with you 100%. But why don't we all just agree on it? Like and anybody that says I don't agree with it, just be like, well, you're wrong. That's it. It's like science fact now. You're wrong. There's definitely arguments for like women being women and men being men and blah blah blah. But just like anybody that wants to say what they want, you can be whatever you want. But
this is it.
I'm going to be whoever I want.
I don't understand, what the debate is at this point. It's like, no, it's that who's fighting on behalf of racism right now? I don't, and sexism. I don't understand who's on that side of the argument.
Right? Yeah, exactly. No, I don't like black women. It's like, who's that guy?
Don't understand.
I 100% agree. Yeah, no, I think that as well. I'm just like, who's the enemy in this? It's like, it's the white man. I'm like, which one? Because whoever he is, he's obviously a dick. Let's deal with him or them, or But I mean, I'm sure there are people, but yeah, it's just one of them things where you're just like, surely we should just all agree that you're right, and then we can just deal with this. It's like, but yeah, I just think it's super weird. This last week's been a bit quieter, actually. I've noticed some random stuff, but I find stuff quite fascinating because I've seen a few things where, especially with celebrities, they'll be like, "Oh, this is terrible," blah blah blah, and then the next tweet is like, "Can't wait for the PS5," and you're just like, maybe you're not taking this quite as seriously as some other people. I mean, I'm not, but it's just like it feels like people are like, "Oh, this is terrible," but also getting mine. I'm going to get the new Grand Theft Auto, whatever. So
I've noticed stuff like a celebrity going like, "Oh yeah, this is absolutely shocking what Trump has said," and then someone in the comments will be like, "That's not what you said when you fucked me in the ass when I was 12." Like, fucking hell, this is going
Jesus
ape shit. This thing, everyone's got a problem with someone right now.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. But the thing is, I suppose something like Twitter, it's like, I'm sure if everyone that had ever met me got a Twitter account and I had a Twitter account, some of them aren't going to like me. Some of them are going to be like, this guy's actually a prick. He started on me in this year, and I heard him once say the N word, or he's fucking terrible in bed. All truth, but
I was
it's
watching
like,
one thing on. So I was watching one thing on like YouTube, and it was like literally just about John Boyega, and he'd so some Star Wars fan channel had said something about John Boyega, because John Boyega had said like, "Oh,
I might not get a career after this."
No, he'd said, literally just tweeted the words like integrity behind closed doors, or there should be integrity behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And this guy from this Star Wars channel just said like, Disney say about you being minimized on like the Chinese cover of Star Wars or whatever, like, so you're barely on the cover.
Right.
And then fucking John Boyega got back to it and they started this big argument, like, and he was going, "What you saying?" and all this. And I'm just like, what is he doing?
Oh, mate.
What are you doing?
That guy that got him there, though, didn't he? That guy got his 5 minutes of fame from John Boyega. He's like, yeah, this will fucking roll him in. And he's like, yeah, argue with me. Get frustrated. I bet that guy was sitting home pissing himself. Oh, look how pissed off I've got him.
The thing is, he's not even a knob, this guy. Like, he is a bit argumentative about things, and does report about shit. But genuinely, he's never said anything bad about John Boyega particularly. He's just comes on Star Wars, basically. He doesn't like the new Star Wars.
Most people don't.
Yeah, that's it. And so, so this guy, and you come back and been like, "Oh, hang on, I wasn't having a go at you. I'm just asking, like, And then John Boyega said, like, "Oh, check out this documentary on Netflix. That's my answer." And so I guess it's just like him saying, "I can't fucking say it, dickhead. This is my opinion, though."
Right.
So he's obviously been like, "Oh, sound like get it." And but then there was so many other fans and BLM people just diving in, going like, "You fucking asshole!" screaming around them.
Yeah.
While they were just sorted it out between them.
I think it's like say me and you fell out in a pub, right? And we started arguing with each other. Then people got around going, fight. That's what it's like.
Everyone puts the pints down. It's like, yeah.
Coming around going, can everyone just calm the fuck down? Like everyone just chill out a little bit. But people are like, oh, what's the matter? Oh, no, shit. It's like when you're pissed off and someone goes, are you okay? All right, blah, blah. And you just get more pissed off. That's what the world is like at the moment. It's that kind of culture of just like upping everything. It's all hype for this, like, for nothing, for no outcome.
On that discussion, it's like a schoolyard, like you said, like almost a pub or whatever, and people's all like, "Wait, fight." So, genuinely, how many people on Twitter are actually teenagers or
are actually school children? Yeah, totally.
Fueling this, because you don't fucking know if there's someone who doesn't even have a photo and they're just a handle on Twitter.
I would wonder. I would be quite fascinated, and I'm sure the stats online somewhere, to find the average age of Twitter, because I'm guessing it's in the low 20s.
How do you confirm it?
Would be my guess.
Like how you
could probably, I don't know. I'm sure that but I'm sure they know the truth. It's the government. Someone would know. Someone would probably like, yeah, we've got like their demographic for Twitter.
12-year-old's phone.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. I'm sure they hacked everyone. But yeah, the demographic for that sort of thing, I'm sure they know all about it. But as I say, I just find the whole thing a bit tedious, to be honest. I tend to, but that's the thing. I also think I'm kind of considering, like, it's like, because I'm not interested in the argument, I'm therefore like a bad guy. It's like if someone said to me, like, "What do you think of this?" I'm like, to be honest, I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't agree with, anybody that is racist. I think that's ridiculous. But at the same time, I'm not going to get in an argument over people. People deserve to make their own choices. That's the whole point of life. I would be the bad guy. They'd be like, "That's disgusting. How can you accept it?"
Be like, I don't chip in on other arguments, just
Yeah.
like pointless stuff like, Xbox or PS5 or whatever, like,
Yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah.
don't really care. Like, I have a PS. I'm not, if the only option was I'd buy an Xbox then sound, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It doesn't bother me. Like,
Yeah, but again, I think that also goes back. Some of that goes back to the fact that it's the best we've ever had it. Like we know it's the best the world's ever been. There's
that's it.
people that have like lived in this world and they're just like, oh, it's terrible. I'm like, you weren't in the '80s when TV was terrible, comic books were terrible, everyone was racist. It's like 40 years ago. So yeah, it's like
just how are they? You've got so much time to be angry, and you're so angry that you've got this time. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a world insanity. There's something happening through social media. It's a insanity, and it's being fueled. Someone's going to take advantage.
I just think it's like a sauna, and the coronavirus was like cold water put on the hot rocks, and it's just like the temperature's got, because the coronavirus just like it was always going to build and build, but because of like distractions through like the world's just moving and work and everything like that, people are always like at a high level of tension anyway. And I just think because like people have had time to sit down and stir and sit in their own little echo chambers of their own ideas and start making videos of like this will get that person and blah blah blah, and because everything's already out of date by the time that people argue about it. It's like even the Black Lives Matter, it's moving so quickly that I'm like, oh, this is terrible. I'm like, oh, this other person died and this person died. Now they're right in this place. And now they've locked down this city and like the protests have taken over. And you're just like, what the fuck? Like, I don't have time to be angry about anything. I'm like, I don't have time to like deal with the issue and then move to the next issue. It's not like a traumatic event like a shooting or something where you're just like, that's terrible, and you have months to like, we need to change the world and make it better. It's like there's so much going on all the time that we're like, right, we need to A, get a vaccine for everybody, B, get people back to work, we need to deal with the financial crisis, we need to deal with the amount of suicides and depression and deaths and everything that's going to come off the back of that, while dealing with a full race war in America, a civil war, and an election, as well as like Brexit. You're like,
plus women are still cancelling men. Yeah, so that's still
and yeah, men are like everyone's cancelled, and they're changing the fucking the king.
still Me Too in people. This is still happening.
Still Me Too people, yeah, and in the like and Epstein and Weinstein and the whole like super elite thing is just kind of tucked under the table for a bit. It's like they'll come back around to that when they're all fucking 90 years old and they're like got away with it.
Chaz area, that they're getting like a shooting every day at least. There's people just getting killed in there all the time now.
I imagine so, yeah. I can't imagine that. Like, I wouldn't choose to live in there. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I was
just attracting all the criminals now, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's areas like America's
all the Joker's goons
with a lot of ideas. All the Joker's goons. That's it. It's all
just come to hang out there.
It's full of henchmen. Of course, it is. It's a henchman hangout. Yeah, because like the supervillains aren't going to hang out there. That's ridiculous. They've got penthouses. That's the whole point. But henchmen will. It's like it's like the Shades or the fucking what is it in Batman? The them alleyways.
Oh, the Narrows.
The Narrows. That's the one I'm looking for. Yeah, it's the Narrows. That's what they're trying to create. But it's like, I mean, there are examples of those sort of like non-policed zones happening in the world. I think Rotterdam had one, but there was someone else had one where it's just like, no, but there's like European countries. There's European countries that have them, but they're like, you can smoke weed there and you can drink and blah, blah, blah. But they don't have guns and violence and they're not all angry as fuck. It's just a place where people can go and hang out. It's like creating that. Basically, what they've created is a military base in the middle of a city. They haven't created like this utopia. I know that's what some of them, I'm sure, are trying to do. And some of them, I'm sure, have got like
created Escape from New York in the middle of a city.
They've created Escape from New York. Yeah, they've created Barrier 13. They've created whatever. Like, and there's a lot of films that represent that idea. Yeah, exactly. District 9. Yeah, exactly. And it's like they're choosing to segregate themselves, which seems to be counterproductive to the overall argument of we should all be one people and free. It's like, but we're going to segregate ourselves because we're free and you're not. It's like, okay, if you want. But yeah, and also they're doing it for like the wrong reasons. They're doing it because they want like fucking anonymity from the world. It's like, well, I don't know. I just think like, and fair enough if people want to like separate themselves from the state and do all that stuff, fine. But treat them like anybody else that would do that, and just say, okay, but you don't receive anything from our government. You don't receive water or power and stuff. You just fully to yourself. Deal with that.
That's the true thing. It's like why they haven't just shut the power and everything off in that area and just been like, well,
human rights violation. That's why. That's what it is. It'd be a human rights violation if that. Which, like, if you said to your mom, right, I'm going to board myself into my room, and I'm going to play my computer, and your mom was like, "Well, I'm going to just turn the computer off. I'm going to turn the internet off. You don't get the internet password anymore." That's how you deal with children. But you can't deal with that because there's enough of them, and it's a government against people.
Suppose as well, there's people actually who do live in that area who aren't part of this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they're just
some
like,
dude is like, "I gotta go to work. I need a shower."
Fucking help!
Yeah. Imagine being a cop living in that area. Fucking hell.
Just anyone living in that area must be a nightmare.
Must be terrifying.
Like I said, I can't believe there's just not people on the rooftops with assault rifles just shooting down into the crowds until everyone leaves. Insanity.
Don't give people ideas. But that's the problem with.
They don't need me to
defund the police. Yeah, I know. That's the problem with defunding the police, though. It's like, you just like it takes one crazy person with a lot of weapons, which I'm sure I would say 1,000 is the minimum amount of crazy people in America that are way too armed. I would say probably more like 100,000, but let's say 1,000. 1,000 well-armed mental people could do some damage if the cops weren't involved. Because basically, you're creating the purge. You're just saying, okay, laws don't exist. Crack on. Because there's no one to enforce them. So it's like, what are you going to do? You going to enforce them yourself? Okay.
Yeah, let's say, no police. All right. Every gang takes over all the streets. That's what happens. And there'll just be gang wars constantly in all the everywhere where gangs control, they'll spread out. And plus, then everywhere in between all the cities will be controlled by fucking biker gangs.
Yeah.
It'd just be absolute. And then you get anywhere in rural areas, it'd just be controlled by militias, just full on rednecks with fucking AKs and all sorts of
Yeah, totally. Oh, not even, but that's the thing. That's what I was talking about, making people extreme, though. If you do stuff like that, then people that are just middle of the ground stuff would be like, well, everyone else is protecting themselves with guns. We don't want to be the only house on the street that doesn't have lots and lots of guns and like doesn't let anyone near us. It's like, how does that improve relations with human beings in any shape or form?
Interesting. I wonder what the gun sales in America have been like.
Massively gone up in the last 6 months. Apparently, hugely gone up. Like big numbers.
Like a gun right thing that's like kind of just let's spark this just because the gun argument has gone away now.
I think it's got to the point where you can't get guns. It's that busy. Apparently, there was like queues in like down the street, and obviously everyone's social distancing, and like people buying lots and lots of guns. I'm guessing the gun industry has boomed during the coronavirus, and now there's going to be lots of people with guns and nothing to do that are really grumpy and poor. So we're all going into the worst recession of all time, I would imagine. Because that's the thing. I think a lot of this is distraction from the fact that we're not doing anything to deal with the fact that we're all going to be the poorest any generation has ever been. We're going to be like 1920s poor real soon.
Just quickly, the gun sale thing. Jesus Christ.
Massive, isn't it?
For a start, 2 million guns were sold during the lockdown, just after the pandemic started.
Like straight away, yeah.
Like immediately, 2 million guns just were sold. And it's just rising and rising. They haven't even got the latest figures from the past month.
I can imagine it's probably closer to 100 million.
It's just everyone's got a gun now.
100%. That'll be the thing. It's like everyone's got a gun, so everyone's gonna that's no longer right or left wing.
I'm designing this website, and I've got a gun on me right now.
That's what I mean. It's like, and like shopkeepers and stuff. Like I say, I'm guessing a lot of people are armed, and a lot of people that have no idea what to do with their armed. It's not like they get gun training. It's not like you get a license. It's just people going, I've got $200. I'm going to buy me a gun, some bullets. But it is America. But I don't think, I think England just deals with stuff differently. I don't think we catastrophize stuff in the same way that American media does. I think England's a bit more like, yeah, okay. But I'm sure that it's just as wild here as it is there. And the people are just as insane.
Flying over to England, right? This Reading stabbings. Did you hear about this?
What's this? Oh, the stabbing. Was it like a terrorist attack? They called it 3 people involved in supposed terrorist attack.
Right. So it was an Asian guy, Indian or Pakistani sort of Muslim fella.
Right.
They called it a terrorist attack. Right. It was just after a BLM rally, so there'd been protests there, and these 3 guys were stabbed dead, whatever, by this fella, and all 3 of them were gay white men.
Okay.
So it's the weird, and then it's been called terrorism.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, what is the narrative here? Because if this was 3 black guys stabbed by a white extremist,
It'd be
that would
racism.
that would be all over the news supporting Black Lives Matter, blah 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 blah. But because these people I assume these gay guys turned up to a BLM rally, you know, because they're pride and all this sort of stuff. They're all
Yeah.
supporting each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
And so they turned up to that, and then a man of color stabbed them,
Right.
and so the media has reported it as terrorism, like old
Yeah.
school sort of, oh yeah, it's Islamic terrorism.
Yeah, which is a bit weird because like
It's
that's
not.
what they
Hang
did.
on,
Obviously, we're like, sorry, go on.
it's not being reported as any race-related thing, you know, on race
Mhm.
hatred against white people, for
Yeah.
example, and it's not being reported as discrimination against gay people, homophobia or anything. It's being reported
Yeah.
as terrorism.
I think that's to do with some. I think there's been recent law changes to say that like hate crimes are an offence under like a terrorist act.
Yeah, no. The police called it terrorism so they could keep the guy. You know, they used Terrorism Act so they could keep him longer as they investigated it more, right? And so that's
Right.
what the media have latched onto and got that's terrorism.
Right. Yeah,
Instead of the media narrative being a man of color has just killed 3 white men who happen to be gay. So is it a hate crime against gay people or a
I
hate
don't think it
crime
should
against
be
white people?
either of those things realistically. I mean, it depends obviously on his motives if you can figure them out. But realistically, it's a mental health issue. A mentally unwell person killed 3 men.
But you could say the same thing if like I've seen countless people killing white guys or something, you know, or beating the shit out of white guys who are black kind of in this last few protests, these last few weeks. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
and you'll get those reported or they won't be reported at all.
Mm.
It's kind of like there's just a strange disparity in the media narrative that's going on,
Yeah, I
especially
thought it was weird when it said terrorist thing, and I'm like, is it part of a like a terrorist? Because like a terrorist, you think like a conspiracy, like a bigger picture, like he's part of a um a group that organized this and did this, or was it just some guy that had hateful feelings that went out and killed 3 people in the street? And did he know, like, you know, did he care who it was killing? Or
From what I've
yeah,
read,
so
there is
but it was weird.
no evidence so far that he was a terrorist in any way. That it's like MI5 had potentially come into the country, and apparently MI5 had a look at him and then gone, "Oh, it's all right, don't worry about it." And then that's the last thing. That's the only thing they've known.
I don't really put all that much stock in investigation nowadays after seeing that Madeleine McCann thing, and that guy was on both cases and dismissed as like fucking
I don't
not
know
not
anymore.
a thing. So yeah, I'd like say up is down, black is white, 2020.
But I just found it really interesting. It's like the narrative is for the media. Black Lives Matter, obviously, you know, but it's like
Yeah, it's a
they're
different story.
fueling. They want to fuel that narrative, and they don't want to report anything that would damage it.
In a sense, but I also think it's like I think it's a bit of a reach to say it's part of like a like a Black Lives Matter thing as well, because he's Pakistani or Indian or whatever he said he was. It's like, you know, if they said, because the thing is, if they said Black Lives Matter murder or something and tied it to that, it's like, well, he probably didn't have anything to do with the Black Lives Matter protest. It was just a situation like that. I feel like both ways are wrong in that sense. It's just somebody killed 3 people and we need to find out why. But again, it's to do with that, like they need a story. So they need like, it's like found guilty in the media. It doesn't matter if you're found guilty in real life or the actual facts. It's like whatever the story is, whatever the tale is.
This is the point I think I want to make. It's like I feel we've hit a crescendo now where it's almost like the media, people on Twitter, everything. We need to calm down because we're getting to a very dangerous point here, a boiling point, you know. And it's like the media need to be taken to account for like the mongering they do and all the fear mongering and all the bullshit and the way it's run. And Twitter, like I said, we need a media blackout or something just to calm everyone down because it feels like it's bubbling over this.
Maybe it should though. Maybe it should, but maybe there's an argument that we need, like, because there is also an aspect of, you know, we're part of a slightly different generation to the modern things, and maybe it's time for the young people to take over. I'm not really willing. I don't think they're going to get it without a fight, but maybe it's time for like a completely new idea. Maybe it's time for someone like maybe like this extreme left view is the right way to go about changing the world. I don't know how you'll get anything done because you won't be able to make any mess or argue or have a disagreement. But you know, it's like
I don't think it'll be simple though, because you know, obviously, but I think it all hinges on America, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Let's say Biden wins, you know, the election. I think the left will go insane, and and kind of get all the power they ever wanted,
Get worse. Yeah.
and it'll get really insane, and we'll have a rewriting of history books and all this sort of crazy shit. And
Potentially,
I think if Trump wins, I think there'll genuinely be a civil war of some sort.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think either way it ends in fire. I honestly do. I think there's an aspect to that. And like you say, just
I think I'd prefer Trump to win just for the fire, just because
at least it's more definite. Like you kind of know that path. If he wins, you know where it goes.
we need to. I think we need to stop this craziness of like kind of just cancel culture, all this sort of stuff. It's like this is not the way to like get the world we want to get. So the best way is just to fucking shoot it out.
Maybe. I just don't see like the best of us winning that battle on either side. I don't think that I see the best of us coming out of it.
Best shot will win.
Best shot will win, yeah. And they're not normally the talkers. They're normally the person behind the talker that deals with the situation. But the talkers, like, you're not going to get the. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I think that, especially in America, the election will define the path that the world takes. I think the rest of the world is just as bad, though. We talk about America because that's what's on the news, but I just think we just don't see a lot of Europe because it's like we're a lot older. This is what we discussed before. We're better at keeping shit down. It's.
Yeah, Europe's a lot older, so yeah, they're just like
Europe is Patrick Stewart, whereas like America's fucking.
Yeah, we've been through this shit. It's McAvoy.
McAvoy, yeah. Well, not even McAvoy, yeah, because McAvoy's an intellect, but it's like Carrot Top.
Well, I think the problem we have is like the language barriers in Europe, so we don't see as much stuff going on because it needs translating.
Yeah, true. And there's different ways of dealing with stuff. Like, in Switzerland, they're not going to fucking trash the place. But at the same time, if they're protesting at all, that's massive for somewhere like Switzerland, or even the UK. It's like when I saw protests, I'm like, I haven't seen a lot of protests. Whereas in America, you see protests once a week.
The thing is, European cities are lovely. It's like
yeah.
they're not going to smash their own city up. Like this is America. They're only fucking 200 years old.
Plus, like, we have much less chance of either being shot or eaten by a bear or fucking, like getting run over by a monster truck. Like, that's not going to happen to me walking to work every day. But in America, that could happen to you walking to work every day. I just think there's just this different level of insanity. But I do think the rest of the world is like just as crazy. I think it would take a spark from somewhere like China or Russia, and the world would just be like, if they're doing it. I just think the fact that I think a lot of people, especially people over here, would just be like, it's just America, it's not an issue. I think a lot of like kind of that British sensibility of like what they do, like we've never paid any attention to what they do. Like it's just British. It's like unless you're a fanboy.
A lot of people in this country, I don't think, are aware of all the stuff that's going on in America right now.
Yeah.
Because
anyone over 25, I'd say maybe 10% of people know what they're talking about.
Well, it's not really being reported on the news as wildly as it is on Twitter, kind of.
Yeah. I
wouldn't have seen half the stuff if it wasn't for Twitter.
No. Oh, no, totally. We would have heard about this years from now going, oh, do you know all that happened after the quarantine? Like I say, 5 years ago, we wouldn't have even been talking most days. You know what I mean? So it's like we're trying to use the best of the technology. But it's like in America, like I said, I do think it's that generation of like instant connectedness and kind of like the value of the word isn't as like if I wanted to talk to you 10 years ago, I'd either have to ring you at an expense and we'd maybe talk for an hour and that'd be our discussion for a month, or I'd write you a letter, in which case I have to take time to discuss the points and have a conversation. Whereas nowadays you can have a conversation with someone you've never met in 5 seconds while you're on the toilet, I mean, like, and playing fucking Farmville. So, and you might be 12 and they might be 32-year-old philosopher, or a fucking school teacher or something, and you might be like some 16-year-old kid that's like no good at school and likes to troll people because you think it's a good idea and plays COD all day. What I mean? So it's not like you're talking to peers. You're talking to a computer, a screen. So yeah, I just think it's a little bit wild. It's a little bit wild. But like I say, I feel like this last week it just feels like I don't know. I watched a lot of stuff a couple of like last week, whereas this week I've kind of taken just a bit of a break. I haven't really watched much stuff. Watched a couple of bits, but it doesn't seem like the protests are still going on. But I've not seen any like extreme violent videos. Not that I've looked for them, but I haven't seen any. And even with that stabbing thing, it was kind of like a passing thing in the news. I'm like, oh, we're just going back to things don't really matter kind of news, rather than being like catastrophe news. But I do think the election's going to be that's going to be the big bit of the year. This is just a warm up, man. It's just a warm up to the elections, dude. I'm telling you, it's going to be deaths in the streets. There's going to be tanks in New York. It's going to be insane, or it might not.
Imagine if everyone just gets LSD'd like in the water and they're just like, oh my god, they
That
just go fucking insane.
just a DMT cloud drifts over them, and everyone just fucking trips like fantastic for 10 minutes and comes back and goes, "We need to sit down and have a conversation."
They've been gone for 1,000 years, and they're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what were we doing here?
They just get shot like a rocket through fucking hyperspace for 10 minutes, see a couple of crazy elves and a bit of a flower patterns, and then just come back and be like, let's not argue. Need to lie down.
Imagine if we could just pause the world and everyone just was paused, but you couldn't move, but you were aware of it, and you just had to just sit there for like a day, 2 days, just frozen, and you were aware everyone else was frozen too, and everyone could just, even people around you, could look at each other, couldn't speak, couldn't do anything. You just had to think about the
Just stuck on
world,
the spot.
think about everything, and calm down.
I don't think they would. I think as soon as people started being able to move again, they would destroy everything.
It'd be like, what the fuck was that? I'm gonna kill everyone.
I think there's definitely an argument that everyone at like 25 should go on like a psychedelic trip. They have to, like, they're forced to, like a rite of passage, like that thing that the Mormons do when they have a year out. But everyone should just go out and like for one day, like you have a day that's allocated to you, and you go on like a crazy trip, and then everyone's like, oh, I know what I want to be for the rest of my life, and I know what I want to do, and I really love people, and we're all connected. Just like, even if it was just once in their life, and they could choose to do it again if they wanted to, but just once in life, everyone just experience that feeling of like we're all one people, even if it's just created by drugs for a second. But that could be what Elon Musk does. That could be done with technology, perhaps.
Well, this is the other thing I wanted to say. I think do you reckon this whole year will actually force someone like Elon Musk or someone we haven't heard of who's in the background doing something just to go, I've had enough of this. They just sort it out themselves. Like they're just like a Tony Stark type, just come up with something that sorts it out.
In my experience, diversity always makes the best of us stronger and breaks the weak of us. And I think, like, we've seen a lot of people going fucking just crazy, or like losing the plot, or just being extremely like out of character. And like, because there's loads of people in the rights we've seen, like, that person doesn't want to go and fucking smash up a building or whatever. They're just in this fucking crazy world that's going on at the moment, and they're just in it, and they're like feeding off all the emotions of it. But most of the people there would just want to go and have a conversation, and it all kicks off, and they turn into these screaming, raging weirdos. You see it when you see lots of people screaming at each other, and then they break down crying. It's like they don't want to scream at each other. Like, that's what it's like in a fight with someone you love. When you scream at them, and you're just like, I just can't deal with this emotion.
There was one today I saw, which is quite funny. It was a weird one, but it's almost exactly what you've been saying. There was a guy, and he must have been a BLM protester or whatever, or a part of the movement on Twitter, and obviously a woman had cut him off apparently in this fucking at a cross section, and then he'd followed her home, and apparently she'd swore at him and slammed the brakes on, and then he got out and started live streaming to Twitter and stuff, and like basically confronted her, just going like, excuse me, and he was a proper gay guy, and I assume he was black,
Right.
because he was a person of color. He basically accused her at once during this whole thing. He accused her of calling him, and he didn't say it any other time afterwards or before that. It's like, and it really felt like he just thrown it in to add a bit more punch to his argument. But basically, he was just saying to her, he was just confronting her, basically going, excuse me, why did you cut me off? Why did you flip me off and then slam your brakes on? And you didn't expect me to follow you home? And she just is like melting down, just going, oh my God, she's fucking screaming her head off, going, get away, you're trying to attack me, you're trying to attack me. She's a white woman, and you're trying to attack me. And then he films her license plate, and she goes, oh my God. And he's talking to Twitter, like going, I'm going to get you on Twitter, you're going on Black Lives Matter and all this sort of stuff. And she's having a fucking meltdown, and and it goes on for about 5 minutes. And then some other woman arrives, and he starts explaining the situation to her, and the whole time she's just like crying, like huddled over at her, like covering up her license plate. Basically, I couldn't even describe what is going on. That's the best I've
Just
got. It's
insanity.
fucking
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
insanity.
Well, that's the thing. It's like she's probably just driving home from work or to work or wherever. Maybe going to go get a coffee on the way home, and then her whole life is spot on Twitter. And now people are going to send her like, "I'm going to murder your threats." You know, like
Thing is,
that's what her next week
mm,
is involves. And then something else will come along. But yeah, she's just going to be haunted, and because this guy has that power to do that, and it's just unnecessary. Where he could just been like, "What a fucking dickhead, she cut me off," and then dealt with the rest of his day.
but also, who the fuck does he think he is? Like at the same time, it's like just because she cut you off and swore at you, does that mean you're so special that you get to blow her up on Twitter because you've just abused your power? You fucking
Yeah,
knobhead.
and that's the thing. It's like I think.
Nothing worse than I would have done to someone.
Yeah,
I've done that a
exactly.
million times.
Exactly. And you can take it as somebody who does like overreact occasionally,
Mm.
and lose your shit. But at the same time, you're fully aware that, like there's losing your shit with somebody, and then there's like, I'm gonna put this on Twitter so that it's like I get points for this and she loses brownie points for this.
Yeah.
It's that whole kind of like, I don't know, it's just that mentality of people. You can't just deal with something. Oh, I need to bring my army behind me to deal with this. Now I've got power to abuse you. It's like, no, you haven't. You've got imaginary fucking friends that are like exist in this thing that are going to do horrible things outside of your control to this woman because you've been fucking cut off in traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think there's stupidity. It's just it's insane. The world's insane.
That's what I mean.
But we're only halfway through this year, so.
But then I put myself in that position. I'm kind of like, yeah, it's like the world's so crazy at the moment. You'd be like, well, be in your rights to just take his phone off him and just smack him or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's crazy at the moment. I don't know what the answer is, but chasing women down the street,
Yeah.
throwing your black gay power at her when
Yeah.
she's and calling her a Karen or whatever this word is that they call it.
Yeah, whatever the new thing is. Yeah, that's new as well. That was like the last 2 weeks, and I'm just like, all of a sudden, this
Been around for a while, that.
And I've heard it used. I've heard it used in different,
Mm.
like some as like left wing people and some as like right wing people. I've heard it like used to like explain white women, but completely different characteristics of people. So yeah, it's a highly confusing new thing.
It's a Twitter. I think there was a Twitter video, a Karen or whatever. Like
yeah, yeah.
like,
I'm sure it's got some origin. I get the idea of it, but yeah, it's just one of the things I'm like, oh, okay, there's a new. That'll be a word you're not allowed to use in the future, though. Yeah. At some point, you're like, you can't call people Karens anymore. That's derogatory.
Titled woman.
100%. 100%. Like a Karen will become like a rude, like an insult to a point where like you can't use that. That's derogatory against people called Karen, or whatever. At some point or other.
Thing is, though, what I found so funny about it is just how monumentally she responded to that. Like she knew exactly what that meant. That meant she was a racist. That meant she was an entitled white woman, and she was getting blown up on Twitter. She knew exactly what was happening because she's so ingrained in that world. And so for her, look at her reaction, the insanity that has caused. Like if that had happened to me, I'd have been like, go on, so what? You're lucky I'm not going to smack you across your face right now and shove your phone up your cunt. You know what I mean? It's like you're lucky. Like,
get out of my face.
Yeah,
I'll cut you off. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll take your
bad.
phone off you and delete it from Twitter. I'll delete your entire Twitter account while you're with your activated phone that's in your hand right now. How about that? It's just like it's chaos.
Yeah, no, it is. I was thinking the other day, I had a really interesting thought. I was watching some documentary about Egypt because why not? Egypt, right?
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking like we're like if you think that like we're 2020, let's say we're 2,000 years old as this current like version of a civilization, but like the Egyptians lived for tens of thousands of years in, I wouldn't say like peace, but there wasn't like, I mean, there was significant wars with other countries and stuff, but like civilizations have grown and lived for massive amounts of time. And we're like 2,000 years in from this supposed like Christian reality, and we're tearing ourselves apart.
Egypt did at certain points tear itself apart and evolved into another form many times over its history. And so are we evolving into another form, or are we, like other civilizations, didn't last as long as Egypt, are we in our last days before we collapse and then something rise up?
Yeah, I think that might well be
like China,
a reality. I think like civilization as we know it, this kind of understanding that we have it, our mentality. It's weird because when I was younger, say even 5 years ago, I assumed by the time I got old, I wouldn't be out of touch. I'd be out of touch with how to use computers and phones and shit because I get old. And it'd be super, you'd expect it to be more complicated. But I thought I'll still like I'm very kind of open to people's ideas. I'll be able to accept the world as it's going to be and blah blah blah. But more and more, I think by the time I get there, it's going to be so insane that I'm going to be like, I can't deal with this. Like your nans and granddads do. It's like we just like they're not really part of it. They're just kind of going through the motions of being in the world.
This is one of the they're just playing the time out.
Yeah, it's not like they're like, let's go to the cinema or let's try something new. They're just like, let's just do what we know what to do.
We're not affecting
the same
the
place
world.
we know to.
We're
Exactly. Yeah,
we're just playing out our last days, like But
exactly. Yeah,
I think this is it. It's like I think that's why I've made a point to be a bit more engaged over the last few weeks during this lockdown, because I was worried that I might just fade into nothing because I don't really. I've gone years without engaging with the news. I could whole things could have passed me by without me knowing about it.
Oh yeah, totally.
I've started to feel in the past like year or two that I have been left behind, that I'm starting to become a bit out of touch. And if I didn't sort of get back in touch with the media and internet carefully, then I would actually be left behind.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's like I say, we've got to the age where we don't have to know everything. We don't have to become a fucking phenomenon on Twitter and have 10,000 followers, and we're not like defined by that from our peers. Whereas there's a lot of younger people that's their defined, like their whole friend group is like whoever's got the most likes is probably the most popular one. You know what I mean? Like, and they'll be like, especially like with like, you know, the influencers and stuff like that. It's like it's all about, you know, like this number of supposed people that think something of you. But at the same time, it's still that same kind of drive to fame that we had as kids, but it was just, I don't know, it's almost like it's everyone can get there, so nobody, it's like everybody's special, so no one's special. It's that sort of thing. Everyone can have a voice.
Well, it's like the Fight Club thing. It's like, you know, we were all raised to believe we could be movie stars and like music gods or whatever, rock stars. I think we all had that, and we all wanted this little idea of fame when we were younger, and then
of course,
it evolved, and then you grow out of it. But I think potentially now, these youngsters now have the social media is just magnifying that 1,000 times and giving them a platform to actually create it.
And that's the thing, and they see people that like all they do is talk. Like you look at someone like Joe Rogan, and podcasting looks easy. You know, it's like that's a piece of piss. Like anybody could do that. All he's doing is talking. But he's got something to say. That's the difference. He's had a life. You know, he's done things. He's been successful. He's failed at stuff. He's taught himself new things in old age, like as he gets older. Whereas someone like fucking Doug from Leeds, who's 18 years old and wants to be famous, he's not got any of that experience. Like anything in life, it's like if you went into any job, you're not going to become the manager day one because you don't have the experience. You spend 20 years doing the job or 20 years living your life. I mean, sometimes you see people my age where I can step into a better job because I've got experience from all these things I've done. But at the same time, it's like they've got the platform to be like, well, everyone's going to, they have to listen to me. It's out there. So, you know, I've got a chance. And some people become famous and some people become things. But I think that's the reason why people get their camera out when there's a situation. It's like, I would think, like, the only time I'd get a camera out in a situation is like, I need to film this because I'm going to need to prove this in court. You know, that'd be my thinking of it. Like, or if it was a fight, I'd be like, if I'm in a fight, record it because I want to see what I did wrong if I get knocked out. I also want to prove, you know, like that's that sort of thing as well. I can look back and go, okay, yeah, that's what I did wrong. But it wouldn't be to like, look at me, everybody, this fucking blah, 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 was doing this to me. And if I get in an argument with someone, the last thing I'm thinking about is getting my camera out. Like, I've got this different mind.
Yeah, people are whipping the cameras out, to like, oh, well, I could be famous on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. I say, and like that surely like pushes the argument. Like if me and you were arguing again, I was like, oh, I can't believe you discriminate against me, and I got my camera out, that would piss you off more, and that'd also make me have to then perform for the camera because if it all died out, then I'd be like, well, that was a waste of, you know, thing. So I don't know. I just think the way, like the mentality of people in general is the weird thing. Like I say, there's so much stuff I agree with in the world at the moment. There's so much stuff where I'm like change is a good thing, regardless of how painful it is. And that's why I think it's like maybe we're living in a world that we need to accept that everything's going to get really weird for a while, and then it'll become like better. But it's going to get really extreme. Like I still think this is still, like I've been saying since day one of the quarantine, it's just going to get worse. This year is going to get crescendo. I think by Christmas Day there'll be like fires, like whole cities will be destroyed, and there'll be an earthquake and aliens.
The sky will be on fire.
I think The sky on fire. Yeah, I think like we're living in the Matrix by the end of this year. At this
It's
rate.
just
I
green
honestly
code.
think it could be the end of the world. Yeah, exactly. Whatever. That'd be cool as fuck.
Just like fuck.
Maybe that's what Elon Musk is doing. He just puts a big thing around it. It's like, now you're all in prison. Let everybody out. We're all in prison. We're all stuck on Earth. That's it. I'm going to Mars, and whoever can behave can go to Mars. You get off Earth with good behavior.
Yeah, I've established a force field around Earth, and I've left, and you're all stuck there now. Bye.
Yeah. Fucking deal with it. Yeah. I was just like, I'm going to start a new colony. I've got my nanites. I've got 1 million people I've just kidnapped, and these are the people I'm going to take. And Earth is quarantined for the next 100 years. Deal with it yourself.
Is it though? Could we? Strangely, that Mayan thing that happened, obviously the other day, the Mayan calendar thing. Where the fuck does that come from? Because I don't know where it's
I don't
from.
know.
Someone's just
I don't
pulled
know.
it out of their ass. Like
It was in like the sun or something. Yeah, it was some new interpretation of stuff. It's like the 4th or 5th one. I'm like, by this point, I'm starting. I did look out just to make sure there's no like. I was sat having a smoke at like about 9 at night as the sun had set, but it was still really bright. And I was like, I could just imagine a massive meteor hitting hitting York. I'm just like, oh, that'd be cool. But I did have a little moment of ponder, but nah, didn't happen.
Yeah, I think if those thunderstorms had happened on that day that happened for me the other night, that'd freak me the fuck out.
But also, like you put on that text, it's like maybe it's just the beginning. Like the end is just the beginning of something, or the beginning of the end of something. Like the end of the universe will just be beginning of no more universe, so it's still the beginning of something different. Like any change is that, and so maybe it's a mental change or psychological change or.
Interestingly, that's what I think. I mean, but that's what I always assumed the Mayan thing was back in 2012. I always assumed it was a crescendo to this point, and then it would be like going downhill after that. It would ease off.
Yeah.
Chaos. And I was thinking that back in 2012. Christ's sake, how the hell we got to this point, and I'm still thinking it. But maybe it literally is that. Maybe we might sort of ease off a little bit. You never know.
I think that like. There is an aspect after any sort of big war, which is like this. We're going through a war at the moment, whether it's a war on consciousness or emotion or like society or history or whatever it is, whatever like this current battle that the world is going through. It's going through a battle, definitely. I'm pretty sure people would agree with that. But I think once that has been in some way resolved, then we'll move into the next chapter.
Was it coincidence that it was the summer solstice and that eclipse? It's kind of like, I would say,
yeah, it's very
like historically throughout history, I'd say people have been insane around these sort of times throughout humanity's history.
Yeah, totally. Oh yeah, I mean stuff like that, and it was it was only just a full moon a little while back and stuff. So yeah, I think there's probably a lot of that stuff. It's been this crazy year anyway, so I think people are just generally vexed and frustrated and don't have a calm voice to talk to. Some people, they've only got their surrounding angry people. But I just think it's another one of them weird things that the universe things. Like I see a lot of stuff, and people will call it like spiritualism or like faith or whatever. I don't have a faith in a deity, but I do see the universe as this moving like body of things that has like coincidences that you just like that probably happened for some reason. But I don't know, mate. It's beyond me. It's the universe, isn't it? Even Kriss doesn't have. We can blink that.
No, you're out there now, mate. You get cancelled so easy now.
So I've just been cancelled.
Told you you're getting cancelled tonight.
I've just been
before we even started.
Shit. I know shit said my name. No, it's out there now.
It's out there now. I'll if this ever goes up, I'll have to
they'll
remember.
Never spell it right.
I'll have to remember. Yeah, they'll never spell the word that you said right. I'm not What's that?
Yeah.
I've got no idea. What's that? I'm so worried to that. I'm never going to find that again, am I?
It's fine. I don't care. You know what? I'm just going to go with the universe like I always have. Maybe that brings up some sort of opportunity.
You know what? There's plenty of people out there with their full names. It's not like a big thing. It's like there's plenty of podcasters.
Totally. And I'm sure I'm probably more honest than them. I know I'm a complete fuck up. So it's like, I'm an honest.
The weird thing is we're uncancelable because neither of us have really made any impact on social media.
But that's, you won't have to. You'll be able to cancel anybody soon. Like one day you'll just be able to go up to someone's door and be like, I don't like red doors. They're cancelled. And then they'll, like every time they come out of the house, they'll be like, shame, shame.
I think also women have been treating us like we've been cancelled since we've been
Since
adults.
I was born, mate. I was gonna say women have been treating me since I was cancelled for a long time. A lot of friend zones, but yeah. So yeah, no, that's fair.
This is it. Yeah, I've always treated women like that. This is what's the weird thing is it's like I've never groped a woman or done anything like that. So it's like I've
No,
always
not
acted
once.
like this. So I'm genuinely insulted by the idea that all white men need to, because it's like I've never fucking done this shit.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I agree with that entirely. But also, I've always thought I treat everyone equally. I dislike most
Hate
people.
them
Even
all.
people I get on with. I just most of
Yeah.
the time I'm just like I can't be dealing with you. I just need to go away from you. Like you're a great person, but just leave me the fuck alone. That's why I like people in short doses. You know what I mean? Like so, like I'll treat men, women, everybody. I'll treat people I like terrible sometimes. But it's just that's people. But I just think people don't like it if it's on a big scale, which is understandable.
We can only both like manage to do this because we don't have to look at each other right now.
Exactly right. Imagine if I'd spent like 6 hours in one go with you twice a week for the last 3 months. I think we'd be bored by now. We'd be like, if you fart again, I'm gonna fucking stab you. Yeah, stop eating all the crisps. Are we getting another pizza? So
Imagine if I could just visit you the weekend of that lockdown, and then
we're just chilling on my boat, and it's just
lockdown.
like just chilling in like a fucking 8-foot space for 3 months. We'd have killed each other. We wouldn't be friends anymore. Yeah. We had to sleep head to toe on my fucking boat for fucking 3 months. No, that's why I said this is a blessing that I'm rubbish with women, because they would not have put up with me for 3 months. I would have put up with them. I'd have gone insane. It's too small a space. I'd have gone completely crazy.
But yeah, no, this is the other thing. It's like obviously I was talking to that woman before this started, that Canadian girl, and then like I messaged her the other day for some reason, or the other week, and we sort of kept randomly in touch a little bit.
Yes, yeah.
And then I randomly and it petered out anyway. And then so I randomly messaged another girl, or I ended up speaking to this girl on Tinder, and I started messaging her, and then I just couldn't be asked. I was sort of delaying replying for ages. I couldn't be bothered, and then I gave her my number, and then she messaged me, and then I messaged her back, and then she just didn't reply. And then I'd sent a message as well a couple of days before to this Canadian girl, and she said something, and then I replied, and then she just didn't get back to me. I'll tell you what, mate, I couldn't be fucking happier. Honestly,
dude,
I could not be happier that these two people have just stopped talking to me. I'm like, brilliant. I don't have to worry about it now. I can't be bothered.
Yeah. See, I had a similar thing happen to me the other day. I matched with a girl on Tinder,
I
and
remember you saying.
I was actually quite good. Yeah, and I was like, she seems cool. She seems like me, but a woman, and prettier than me, much prettier than me. But she seemed funny, and it was a bit of a joke. And then I texted her the next day. She texts back, so I text her back, nothing. So I thought I'll leave it. Rest of the day, she's probably busy. Text her the next day, nothing, and then she deleted like the message thing on Tinder. So I was like, oh. Okay, I was like, it seemed to be going all right, but then she just had a bad day, or she just decided. Yeah, it's. But then people are weird, and I'm sure I've done that. Maybe like she was like, he seems nice, and then we matched, and she was like, fuck, I didn't really think it. Like, because sometimes you look at someone, then you match and go, did I say yes to her? Like, I must have been. At that point, I was like, I was probably like 30 in. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, okay.
I've stopped analysing it. I think there's a million reasons why someone just stops talking to you, and
100%, yeah.
Most of them are something to do with their life and nothing to do with whether they liked you or not.
Oh yeah. Well, I agree with that, because there's nothing I can change, without feedback. So yeah, I'm just like, yeah, okay. And again, it was one of them things where I'm like, okay, that's one less thing to think about. But yeah, it was just this weird thing, because I'm like, well, that seemed a bit. Like it was. I got rid of her quicker than I normally did, so I'm just like, oh, that didn't take very long. So yeah, but yeah, very strange, very strange.
I always think whenever something like that happens, I always think, well, sound, I've dodged a bullet there.
Yeah,
you'd only
exactly.
be a nightmare to deal with if I actually met you.
Yeah, I've been with enough crazy women to know that actually sometimes no women's better.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, there's definitely that. You're just like, unless they're the right person, there's 0 point, because no woman is definitely better than the worst women.
I always like to think that if they stop replying to me, I like to think that the husband has just walked in and caught them with the phone.
I like to think that they're spies and they've just been murdered. I like to think they've been taken captive, and then years from now we'll bump into each other.
Obviously, right, recently I've just thought, well, they've just died of coronavirus.
That that's it from now on. Every time it's like, well, I think she died of coronavirus. Like years from now, I'll be saying that, and people will be like, what the fuck is coronavirus?
Or they just got caught up in a race riot and died somehow. Race violence. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many get out clauses right now. But yeah, I couldn't be happier because as soon as I started messaging, I mean, I was just trying to keep it going with this Canadian woman, and like, I just couldn't be bothered. And I texted her about something to do with. I just said, because she's from Canada, it's near Seattle anyway, where she lives, and I just went, "Have you heard about this Chaz thing?" And she just went, "No, what's that?" And I explained it to her, and then she just didn't reply to me. And so I was like, brilliant. So I don't know if that's done. I can't be bothered. And then this other woman said this, we swapped numbers, and then she WhatsApped me, and then I was like, oh yeah, and then we were talking.
So she was keen enough to want to,
this was strange, right? And so we were talking about stand-up comedians, and she goes, I'm into kind of like British ones, and I went, oh, that's sound. Give me some names. But like I said, I was taking a while to respond because I just hate kind of being involved with text chat all the time. And so anyway, then she gave me a bunch of names, and I just didn't reply for like most of the day. But like I said, I hadn't replied. It'd been like 6-7 hour chunks between replying anyway, like, both of us. And so, and then anyway, she gave me all these names of like British comedians that she liked. And I just went, oh, that's all right, nice one. I'll have a look at some of them. And then I said, so how do we do this when, now, because pubs aren't open yet? Like, this was the other week. And because pubs aren't open yet, I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to meet up for a date. What got any suggestions? What do you want to do? What do you want to do, or whatever? You know what I mean? Just sort of, it was a bit.
Just generally.
It was
generally asking.
It was much more concise than what I said.
I think it was exactly like that, and she was just like, he talks like an idiot.
Rambling.
He has no idea what he's trying to say. So yeah, just complete babbling. So what do we do? The pubs are closed. Oh my god.
Yeah. So anyway,
what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Yeah, like that, like a crazy, with like exclamation marks at the end.
So I was just making a joke, and then just said like, yeah, so. I'm open to discussions, and then she just never replied. I was just like, oh, all right.
Died of coronavirus. Just straight up died. She just died on the spot of coronavirus, or shock.
Yeah, like she just went, shit, he's right.
He's right. What do we do? And just went, yeah, what's the point?
I just thought, well, how do we meet? What are you supposed to do? And I was just asking a question. But like I said, this whole back and forth was starting to annoy me. I started to think, I don't want any of this. I'm getting annoyed having to write things and think of stuff, and it bothers me, is someone going to reply and all this? I hate it.
Yeah. I honestly think dating apps are gone for me. I don't think I can do dating apps anymore. I think I'm going to have to meet a real human person and just go from like asking someone out in a bar or something. I think I'm going to have to go old school because I just cannot deal with that same thing. The beeping, the noise, that anticipation, that like worrying about what to write, and then writing something going, no, that's like, if I read it like a text, it sounds crazy. Whereas in my head, it sounded witty and comical. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a good enough grasp to be able to put like the eloquence that I would be able to put in like a conversation sometimes.
I think most of the things I would say come naturally off the top of my head, and so if I have loads of time to think about it and I'm writing it a text, it's like, it's designed to be said, everything I'm writing. So I can't just bang out a text because it then sounds like a crazy person because you haven't got me saying it.
Yeah, totally.
So I end up just staring at the screen, thinking, rereading the text and adding bits to it, and then fucking just going, I've been editing this fucking thing like it's a novel.
Which is more of a crazy thing to do.
Exactly.
That's the thing. It's like I'm making myself crazy by not just being myself, which sounds crazy. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, no, I agree. So that's why I think, like, if people like me in real, like, there's no point as well, because I've met people that are super interested on text and then dull in real life. I've been really interested in on text, and when I've met them, I've not had any conversation with them because like unless I'm just talking, like something, I'm quite a aggressive speaker, so I need to like
really
figure out ways to do that. And yeah, I don't know if you ever noticed. I know you know me a while now, but I tend to dumb it down for you, mate. But actually, I tend to talk over people sometimes. Don't know if you knew that. So yeah, some people just can't keep up. I'm like, yeah, no, I didn't think you would have. I like I say, I hide it well.
No, I know what you mean. Like, I've had every sort of computation of interaction where it's like, I've chatted for ages and then met them and it's been bollocks, and I've chatted, the best success I've ever had is just someone who's like, I can't be asked chatting, let's just meet up, and then you meet up and then you get on all right, and then sometimes you might get some sex out of it. That's the best thing I've
sex had. That's the only outcome I really like we said before, I don't know if I need a wife or like a life partner. Just sex every, as I get older, it'll probably be further apart, but every couple of weeks would be, I could deal with that. I'd be happy with that.
Is it? Because I think it's like, I'm like Brooks from Shawshank Redemption. I'm like
All right.
institutionalized in my loneliness, my kind of isolation.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm too independent to myself now as a solo
Yeah.
being. It's like I didn't
Hmm.
opt to be a duo early on in life. Like a lot of people were in that relationships for most of their life
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
just got
Yeah.
married. But
Yeah.
we've existed. You, I have, whatever. Both of us have
Yeah.
existed like as solo operators, as like rogue
Yeah. Yeah.
agents, as Jason Bournes.
Well, that's it. Well, I've done good because I've done half and half. I've done like since I turned 18, I've done roughly half and half. Half of it was within a relationship and half was out. And that's the thing. It's like when I was in a long relationship, after I finished like 9 years of a relationship, I was like, that's done. Like long relationships are done for me. Unless I meet someone insanely good, I'm not spending the rest of my life with them. I'm not going to spend another 9 years with someone that I don't see as being super amazing. You
Mm,
know what I mean? Like I'm not going to spend someone like she's all right, she'll grow on me. I don't think that's going to work. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like so yeah, I just think I just have fun for a bit and then I die old, hopefully. So, but I don't plan anything ahead, so I try not to think about it very often. I only think about it because I'm at that age where most of my peers and my brother and sister are both married with children or have children, and then everyone's like, "When are you having yours?" I'm like, "I don't know, not in this universe. Maybe somewhere in a galaxy
Mm,
far, far away."
I think that's my issue. Yeah. I think as well, though, a lot of the people I know who are around my age and a lot of the family members that are similar age, cousins and so on, who are all
Yeah,
married, all got kids, and they're all just like minimum 10 years older than me, but they're the same age,
yeah,
more or less. And
yeah.
I just think it's kind of like I look decent for my age because I haven't had to deal with a woman and family and kids and stuff for most of my life.
Oh yeah, and the thing I think is like if I didn't have like because the thing is if I don't have something, if I don't have money to buy food, I would be able to starve myself for a day. I'm never going to hopefully
Yeah,
never be in that position, but
exactly.
I could because I'm by myself.
Yeah.
But if I had kids and a wife, it's like I can't be like, so we're starving today, guys. You have to find it. So I can compromise situations in my life and compromise spending and stuff because it's just me that's having to do it. I don't have to.
Sometimes don't eat at all for a day just because I couldn't be
Oh, I
bothered.
do that anyway. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, it's too hot. I found that recently. It's really fucking hot. I'm like, I'm not. I guess I'm not eating today. So I'll have breakfast before it gets too hot. But yeah, it's like that sort of thing. It's like I just, and it also means I can live a cheap lifestyle, so I can kind of do what I want. I can kind of live the life I want. I don't have to worry about achieving as much. I
Mm,
suppose it's a bit of a cop out, but I get to enjoy the time I have. I get to actually live. I'm not trying to take on the world. I'm just living in it and enjoying it. That's my story, maybe. I don't know. Or it's just the beginning of a story. It's like previously.
I think it's like the strange thing I've found is it's like I've always had the idea that I wanted to be with someone and find someone, that I was partner with. But everyone I've ended up partnership with, I've just been like, I can't
Mhm.
exist with this person for very long, for much longer, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly.
And anyone I've met who I thought, oh, we'd be amazing together, and I've always ended up being friends with them, or they've never just not been interested in me.
Yeah, I've had that a lot.
Never had it line up.
No, no, yeah, yeah, that's the thing. I like to say, I say to people all the time, maybe it's not meant to happen. They're like, oh no, you should be a dad, or you should have kids, or you should have you need to meet a nice girl. I'm like, I'm not sure a nice girl would really do it. I feel like a nice girl would be
Mm,
too soft, and a mean girl would be too hard. And it's like, I need like that just right porridge.
yeah, I'm a complicated twat, and I think kind of yeah.
I'm, yeah, yeah. I also need her to deal with me being an absolute knobhead. Like she needs to have very low standards and yet be a lovely, wonderful, beautiful person. She doesn't exist. That's the problem. And also a badass.
Mm.
Like she needs to be able to like climb and kayak and fucking survive the apocalypse with me. So like there's many different hats that she has to wear. Well, I'm just going to be a useless knobhead who doesn't really achieve much.
I need someone who's more of a badass. Yeah, this is it. It's like because
Yeah.
I've done different types of birds. I know that sounds weird. Great.
No, no,
Different
I get
types
it.
of women. And they just don't agree with me, and I've never found one that does. And that's what's annoyed me, I think, most. And I think I've come to the conclusion that, yeah, I don't think I can be bothered.
But then again, you might meet someone tomorrow that's that person.
True.
That's what I always think. I'm just like, maybe if I meet that person, I will go 100%.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely, I will.
If I meet somebody that I want to go for, then they're going to get it all. But I just haven't met someone.
You get my whole dick.
They're going to get the whole dick. No, they're
Never.
just going to get me fucking pestering until they marry me or some shit.
I always wanted to meet someone, and it was just simple. Like they were just as into me as I'm into them. And it's like, oh, well, this is
Yeah.
obvious then, sound. And I always thought that would happen, and it never did. it annoys me. And because I don't get that with people, I always feel like I'm forcing it. And with a woman, and I'm like, you know, and I know I am, and it annoys me. So I think I've given up.
Mm.
And plus, my options are getting thinner, especially with social media, like dating, online dating, rather. You know, I'm only gonna attract 40-year-old women, and most of them, like this girl I was talking, she had 4 kids, and she didn't want any more and stuff.
Phew,
I'm like, yeah, well, that's
damn, 4 kids.
yeah.
4 kids is a lot of kids.
So I thought, and I was just
Jesus.
like, yeah, I don't care that you haven't got back to me. It's
Yeah,
your loss.
4 kids.
Your
Jesus,
loss. I've never
that's a whole bunch
committed.
of kids.
This is it. She's divorced, 4 kids, has her ex's name tattooed on her ankle or something. I'm like,
All right.
you committed to that error pretty substantially there, didn't you?
Yeah, but just because you spent a long time doing something wrong doesn't mean you need to, keep doing it
Mm.
wrong. So yeah, we've all made mistakes that are significant. I would think. It's just that's a lot of kids. I just think 4 kids in general is a lot of kids. But if you wanted to,
What I found funny, because obviously I've encountered a lot of women like this.
Mhm.
It's like they'll make a lot of judgments on you as a person.
Yeah.
And like I often think to myself, your judgment of men is horseshit.
Uh-huh.
You married someone who you've now divorced and had kids with them and all this. And it's like, so clearly, you made a commitment to something which you weren't able to go through with. Your mind changed halfway through. Your judgment's bollocks. So don't be throwing judgments at me on my choices. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just a weird thing.
Yeah, but that could also be within you as well. Like any judgment of you is going to be like fuck you. How do you judge me, bitch? And then you judge her, and for the same sort of aspects of it. People are just fucking
Mm.
weirdos, mate.
No, I mean,
All
genuinely, I
crazy.
think
I don't know how anybody deals with anybody. This is the thing. Like this is the thing I've kind of found is like I can't contemplate how people can deal with someone that long. Like the older I get, I'm just like, how do people spend 60 years with someone? It's like, damn.
yeah,
I just don't understand how to do it.
I can't get past like a Tinder conversation with some of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I spoke to one girl and she goes, do you want to meet up? And I was like, yeah, sound, I'll come to you. Where you live in Manchester? She goes, yeah. And I go, all right, sound, where's a good place in Manchester? Because I don't know it that well. And she goes, what? I've got to decide. I just went, well, sound, I'll decide if you want. And then we got into like an argument. And I just went, fuck this. And I just stopped texting. It was just like within like a day, I started an argument with a random woman.
Just instantly become.
I didn't
Yeah.
start the argument. She came back at me, like, and I was just like, what is going on here? Forget it. Can't be asked.
I had an incident like that with a girl she was having some shit at work, and I was like, look, like me, I like to be like, just be positive, you just don't worry about. There was a girl at work that was going for the same job she was going for, and she was like, she's not even qualified to do the job, and I've had to do all these qualifications, and I bet she was spiraling a little bit over text, right?
Yeah.
So I just said, look, all you can do is focus on yourself. You know that girl isn't as good as you, so you just need to prove that I sent this thing, and she sent back, I'm not a fucking idiot, I know how to like do these things. I just blah blah blah. And I was just like, and about
Yeah.
I've been texting you for like 3 days, and now you just give me shit over a text like I'm your only fucking friend. I'm just like, nope. Like, I would expect just like, even if she didn't like agree with it, she'd be like, I appreciate you saying that, but I need to figure this out myself or something, if she didn't want me to talk about it. But she texted me about it, so I gave her my advice as I always do, because I'm a white male and I have a right.
You were mansplaining.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's probably what it was. That is probably what it was. But that wasn't the intent. It was just trying to, look at the bigger picture, try and be positive. I appreciate that, because she was spiraling on these messages. But no, it did not get taken like that. She took it very badly, and I was like, all right, cool, bye then.
A similar thing happened with that Canadian girl. This is why I think I can't be bothered with it, because that's how it started. We'd been messaging fine, and then she goes, "Oh, I'm having a problem. They expect me to pay my rent still because it was in the middle of this lockdown."
Oh right, yeah,
She
yeah.
goes, "And I haven't got my job. I haven't been able to work." And so I was like, "Oh bloody hell!" And so I just said, "'Cause she's from Canada, she's only been here like at this point like a month or something."
Yeah, yeah.
And I came up with some ideas. I was like, maybe contact this or ring the landlord or something, or have a word with it. And then she just kind of
Yeah,
went back and just like, I've dealt with it. Why do you, and proper coming at me like, I don't need your
yeah.
help.
I don't need your help.
Yeah, this sort of shit. And I was like I was mansplaining, and I just was okay. I just didn't reply. I just was like, well, okay, and then moved on to something else later.
Yeah.
That killed it. That moment killed it. I've never been the same with her ever since. And that's it. It's just petered out since then.
Yeah, understandably. Yeah, that makes sense.
And like, I'm not being funny. It's like she was talking to me about it. I don't feel like I was being a knobhead.
Yeah, no, totally.
I was just like, I even genuinely said afterwards, like, oh yeah, sorry, I must have tried to just I just tried to solve a problem. You gave me a problem.
Yeah, that's it. And you're trying to help somebody. But yeah, I do think. But again, that goes back to them people. It's just part of people being people.
Is it? I think as well, like with social.
Just Mortys being Mortys.
Yeah, Mortys killing Mortys.
Yeah, exactly.
Just, but yeah, I think there's also a thing with social media, and not only just social media, but online dating. A lot of women use it as a crutch. They know they can attract a lot of guys who'll listen to some of their bullshit for extended periods of time, and then not even meet them. And I think a lot of women go from guy to guy, just dumping their shit onto them until and they don't actually.
I wouldn't just say women. I would say guys as well. I bet there's loads of fucking guys. Just the difference with the guys, you'll try and fuck them as well.
Yes, 100%.
It's like it's that same sort of agreement. It's like we'll talk and pretend and blah blah, blah and then I don't really want to see you again. I just need to get this itch. And also women fucking women and guys dumping issues on guys. We're all crazy bitches. We are all insane people, though. I thought for a long time that I was a bit weird and my friends were a bit weird, but I realized we're all fucking mental. Every single one of us is crazy.
It's like I said a few weeks ago, after this protest shit started, I was like, yeah, it's the first time I've ever felt like I'm not the crazy one anymore. Because I've always felt like I was weird and crazy, and the rest of the world had
like
it
the
sorted.
way the conspiracy is.
And the rest of the world had it all sorted out, and now just to watch the rest of the world just explode into Joker-style chaos, it's just like, wow, I'm not out there doing that. So really, there's lots of people who are much crazier than me, and dumber, a lot dumber as well.
Well, that's it. It's like that's one thing I've found quite a while. It's like there's this movement. Like I can't believe people like this. I've not really been involved in the system of the world for a long time. I work and pay my taxes and stuff, but I also fuck off to California for a little while or to Thailand and stuff and live my life and try and fucking spend all my downtime just doing my things. I'm not like we need to invest and buy a house and get a car and get a mortgage and take a loan out for a new TV and keep up with the Joneses. Like that's never been something like I say it's never been something I've been through part of that when I worked at the bank and then just realized that I was like that's not going down like that that's not how I'm living my life because I just saw people like a couple of years ahead of me or a couple of years behind me and I'm just like oh God, I know the path that this leads to, and they're all
trying to climb the ladder.
They're all trying to climb the ladder, and like you see them now, it's weird because obviously I've got Facebook, and like I'm in touch with people that I used to work with at the bank, and this last 3 months they look like they've got life back in them. Because some of them, there's people my age that look 20 years older than me, easy. You know what I mean? Like people my age that look like they're completely bald, they're overweight, they're just like their skin is grey. Like they're just they're bankers. They look like they're kind of like cartoon banker. But they like these last couple of weeks, like they started to fill out, and all the pictures are like smiley pictures with their family and shit. I'm just like, that's their first chance to actually get out and fucking live,
soaking up the sun.
Yeah. Whereas essentially, I've just done what I do on my days off. You know what I mean? Like that's all I've done for the last 3 months. But some people have actually been like, oh, I've got days off. You know what I mean? So it's just.
This is it. I think a lot of the people are going to be really annoyed to have to go back to work at this point.
To be honest, I'm actually looking forward to the work. I'm looking forward to a bit of grind and a bit of hard work and feeling like I'm doing something. But I'm not looking forward to the people I work with. And not because I dislike the people I work with. I like 90% of them. Really, in fact, I really like 90% of them. I just don't want to listen to like, oh, this person did this yesterday, blah, 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 because that's all the work is. It's a constant bitch about someone not doing something right. And people have gonna not talked for 3 months.
Yes. I've enjoyed having a break from all that sort of humdrum bullshit. Yeah, and I think we might go back to work and then all of a sudden we realise everyone's a lot fucking crazier and angrier and it's like not equipped to handle this bollocks anymore because we've been had a 3-month break from it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think there's going to be moments where because people haven't argued with somebody for 3 months and blah blah, they're going to just the first argument they have is just going to be insane and people going drinking and just going to get absolutely bollocksed and then craziness will ensue because people are angry and.
I ain't going out when these pubs open up. I'm not going out in Liverpool on that first weekend.
Mate, I don't go out in summer anyway. I'll go sit in my garden and drink beers. I've got the best view in the city, so fuck that shit. I occasionally go sit in a beer garden after work for one, but I'm not doing that at the moment because they're all tiny places. In York, it's all like fucking tiny streets and little fucking places, man.
It's gonna be insane.
Their 50% capacity is like 10 people. You know what I mean? In some of the places in York, so I'm like, yeah, good luck with that.
Plus, a lot of places won't be reopening, so there'll be a lot of pubs that won't open, so all the other pubs and places will be even more packed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get more spikes of coronavirus, or they start talking
Well,
about it.
yeah, I assume so. Yeah, I assume it might go up or whatever, but I don't know if they'll do anything. I don't see there being a possibility to lock down the country again, not without riots. Like if they lock down, the riots will turn into lockdown riots.
I think so, yeah. Unless they're like literally they just announce this easing of the lockdown in 2 weeks or whatever, and then that gives them in 2 weeks to just build the narrative of like, oh, the coronavirus is still here, we have to stay on lockdown for another month.
They won't do it. They
No,
won't do it.
no, they won't.
I mean, I would, like I say, but I don't think they'll do it. I mean, I think old people will be encouraged to stay in and not go out, and people will be like given safety things. And for the rest of our life now, there'll be adverts on TV about washing your hands again, even though people wash their fucking hands.
At the end of the day, though, they
Wash your hands, motherfuckers.
pulled the lockdown thing together within a few days. The narrative can be like built up and punched up enough to get everyone on board like within a few days. So
maybe. I just think that there's too many people that don't believe it now. You know what I mean? Like whereas when it first kicked in, like no one really had anything, and they just threw out loads of facts and figures and stuff, and everyone was afraid.
Let's just hide.
Whereas now people are like, look, it didn't do anything the first time. It's not going to fucking do anything the second time, is it? So we're not doing it. And if enough people say they're not doing it, it doesn't happen. It's that simple.
Maybe this is the world depopulation program, and they're just like, well, it actually didn't do the job, so let's get everyone back out. Angry, race rioting, get them so angry that they have no choice but to release everyone out, and then it just hits everyone.
We haven't had a good depopulation conspiracy in a long time. I remember all the coffins in like the early 2000s, and
well, I tell you what, if there wasn't a call for depopulation, there is now after all this chaos.
No, 100%.
I'd be like,
I agree.
If I was in charge of the world, or one of the elites, or in charge of the conspiracy, I'd be like, let's kill a lot of these off now before they start burning our buildings down and our like banks. And they get to our private islands and release all the children we've got in basements.
The death count we've seen from coronavirus, I think, will pale in significance compared to the deaths from starvation, hunger, and poverty in the next 2 years. I think that will be the big. Like, I don't think people will be having kids, and I mean, there'll be probably a boom in like 8 months now, but I don't think people are going to be having kids and stuff.
That'll add to the fucking problems, because there'll be people who the economy will be shit, people won't have enough money, and then everyone's having kids all of a sudden, and all these stupid
but that's what they did, baby boomers, isn't it? Getting more kids out there to fund industry, while at the same time creating like AI that takes away all the jobs. That's why I think we need to get to Mars as soon as possible. Just to get half the population on Mars, and then we've got another 50 years before we fuck it all up again.
This year hasn't encouraged Elon Musk to fast track that shit. I don't know what has.
I think he definitely has. I think he's just like, get me off this fucking sinking ship as soon as possible. I need this quick as you can.
You know, he wants to die being going to Mars in some way, like, or being on Mars.
He wants to die on Mars, yeah. He wants to live on Mars.
He wants to be the first human to die on another planet, probably.
Yeah, more likely.
Something like that.
Yeah, I know he wants to go. I saw a thing saying he wanted to go to Mars before he dies. That was his whole goal. And if he goes, I'm guessing he's probably going to stay, which means I want to be there. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'd rather wake up on a place where the whole planet has about 100 people on it, and 1% of those people is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I want. You know, like, that's the point. I don't want to live on a planet with fucking.
Don't know what the fuck you're doing there.
Yeah, well, maybe they need somebody to just like chat, like, you know,
we need
podcast,
to smoke
Mars
weed.
podcast.
It's gonna take fucking.
I can be
Rogan.
like the Good Morning podcast. Yeah, he's gonna take Rogan, but maybe Rogan likes like, no, I'll stay on Earth and try and keep him from blowing you up.
And he's like, Musk is like, good luck with that shit.
Yeah, like Rogan will be like, when you can build me a robot body, I'll just teleport over there. The last just before death, I'll just take the robot injection, and then I'll teleport over there, and I'll live it forever on Mars. But I'll live like my human life here on Earth and try and keep them from like fucking tearing the fucking wallpaper off.
I don't know. This world's like I say, it's gotta be controlled by cooler heads at this point, because we're not gonna get to Mars and have all this cool shit happen if people are just screaming like this. It's too much.
Yeah, I mean, we might do, but I think 90% of the world would be like The Walking Dead, and then 10% would just be like a big compound where all the science and shit happens, where they're sending rockets to Mars and all that sort of shit, and it's just human starts to build from that little. Like they take just a handful, just enough to make enough population. We're not all inbred. Just take like 10,000 people and just move them all to Mars, and then destroy the platform and leave Earth to suffer. 10,000 years from now, they'll come back and be like, hey guys, we're the Martians. We actually built all those rockets that you found 5,000 years ago. So.
Okay, well, that's the end of part 1. Part 2 will be up soon. You continue our discussion about whatever we were talking about, space or something, getting on a rocket, going to Mars. Probably about Elon Musk. He usually makes an appearance. Anyway, thanks for listening. Part 2 coming soon.